Welcome to Nollywood Film Club. I'm Mr. C, a Barocco critic. I hope you're doing well. Yes, I know. 4 hours long. Well, this is your penance for having an under 1 hour podcast last episode. If you did listen to it, if you didn't and you're new, welcome here. Please do leave a rating. If you can rate us 5 stars, that we would really appreciate that. It's been helping the podcast, and a lot of you have been liking it. It's really great to see a lot of you from different countries. Shout out to to the people in Guinea. We love you. But yes, so this is a big one. It's a Netflix original. A lot of discussions. There are 2 rounds of the bad. So if sometimes I think some people do use the timestamps to figure out where Mr. and Mrs. C have said a thing because you guys like us as well. You should listen to everybody. Though everybody is good, and there are there are actually loads of interesting perspectives. There are a couple of filmmakers do come on, and I really appreciate that. This is just actually such a fun conversation, and like with very interesting perspectives. um Shout out to all of the people who made this possible. But yes, I was saying essentially that you're not going to be able to find us because we're right in the middle. So but we do give our thoughts. There are 2 rounds of the bads because we're trying to give everyone a chance to speak because there were time limits. But yeah, I don't think there's anything. Oh, there was a fact check that we were supposed to come back to. The second writer on this, has also written other things. She is a writer director. So worth noting that. I forgot to say that during the space. All right, but I won't keep you here for too long. But please do remember to rate it 5 stars if you can, if you enjoy it. If not, I guess you can also choose not to rate it. All right. Anyway, I do hope you enjoy Nollywood Film Club discussing the Black Book. All right, let's not waste time. I've not been sent the tweet out, but welcome to Nollywood Film Club, everybody. Hope you're comfortable. We do discuss Nollywood films every Sunday, 6 p.m. What? We'll discuss the things we like. We'll discuss the things we don't like. If we have arguments, we'll fight about it later, and then we'll do our summary. This week, we are discussing the Black Book. And if you don't want to speak, just comment underneath the space, and we'll read it. We'll read it out. All right, let's start. We're starting with the things we liked. The good. So, Vanessa,
The artist formerly known as Vanessa.
what did you like about the Black Book?
You know what you're supposed to call me, and you actively resisting this is unfair.
I will just move on.
Just say it once, and I'll let it go.
Sorry, you haven't told everybody we're doing timers today
Just
for obvious
say
reasons.
it once, and I'll let it go.
Vanessa, please, can you let us move on?
Okay, fine. Let's move on. I'll move on. I'm sorry. I'm in a good mood today, guys. You people should be excited that I'm happy. I don't know what you people are doing.
Your 5 minutes has started.
My time has not started, though. Okay, let's go. Things I liked. Pat Neighbor did a really good job, as he usually does, with the production design on this. Like a lot of the stuff looked really good. His cameo was also really nice. I really enjoyed him in this. Rest in peace. My next good. Shafi Bello is probably one of the few consistently good actresses / actors that we have just in general. Like she's one of the few consistently good performers that we have, just period. There's like only like 5 people on that list, and that's me being very generous. But Shafi Bello is one of them. I enjoyed Big Daddy in this. I quite liked her telling someone to share the granuts. What else is a good? Oh yeah, diversity in locations. I guess. Like, it's quite nice when we're not stuck in Lagos. It gets really annoying when Nollywood films just restrict themselves to Lagos and its environs. Even when they shot in Lagos, I guess it didn't feel like it was Lagos, so I appreciated that about it. I liked some of the music choices and like the sound of it, or in general, I kind of liked. I liked. Let me be generous. Say I liked. What else did I really like in this? Wait, so I had something and I forgot about it. Sorry, Usher took over my brain. Um, oh, hold up.
Okay,
Sorry, I've
we can.
forgotten. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I've been preoccupied by Usher. I forgot everything I was gonna say.
Performance issues. It happens. All right. Thanks, Vanessa. Oh, it's Ursula, baby. Okay. Um,
Yay!
and I think Amadou, you are next. Please tell us some of the things you liked about the Black Book.
Thanks for calling me in after Vanessa. The first, think I like the first 20 minutes of this movie. It was okay, not like it was, really that, but it was kind of okay. That was the moment after the first 20 minutes. I think I stopped enjoying the movie, and it became, So the first 20 minutes, I kind of liked it. The scene where this guy was, what's the name of his son? I don't think they mentioned the son actually, his name. So the scene where he was shot, I kind of felt, that it first things for me in a way. I was scared. I think I like that scene, even though don't let me say it, but it was okay for me. Kelechi Udegbe's eyes, I think it works whenever he's playing a villain, even though he's being stereotyped, but it kind of works whenever he's playing a villain, and I get scared when he does that. Bimbo Akin, is it Bimbo Akintola? Yeah, Bimbo Akintola, she's good. I kind of like her performance. When she was crying, I really liked it, and I like her high boss, Shafi Bello. I think she played her usual stuff, but she still, whatever she plays, she kind of do it with elegance, and she does it well. So it was kind of okay. Our transitioning from the market woman, Maiko Isaleko person to, some what how would I describe her? So she was kind of okay. And one thing I know people will know was that I think the mug attendant he served he did well for an extra. I kind of liked his performance. I like the use of sex workers to track down the SAS officers. I think they knew that police officers are actually one of those that patronize sex workers the most. So I kind of like that. It was real. And the set design, I like the set design of this movie. Every location felt, and I mean the interiors, most of the interior locations, they felt like real. They didn't feel something, out of place. Like I like it's Paul Dima's house. I kind of like the set design. The offices, the generals, the police, the commissioner for police, her house. I kind of like her house. It was okay. And what else do I like? Okay, I like the production kind of. I think the money they pumped into this project actually, I could see it. I could see it from the production, from the locations and all that. I kind of like how they showed some of the shots, a few of the shots and the landscapes. I kind of like how they did it. So I think that's all I like about the movie.
All right, thank you, Amadou, paying praise to the shots and some of the performances, use of sex workers. All right, interesting stuff. Just remind people if you do, just in case the space is going to get full for speaking, but you can drop your comment in the space. All right. I think next person was Rotimi. Rotimi, what did you like about the Black Book?
What's not to like about the Black Book? So first of all, I just want to say RIP to Uncle Pat Nebo. I think it's a loss, one of the biggest losses, like just in general for Nollywood. I think the combination of both him and Yinka Edwards, I remember like the last time that combination was, I think was the Nook made, which I like, even that time I liked what I thought was like the combination between art design and cinematography. I thought that their combination works in this. And Yinka Edwards has done like a lot of things that, like when you see the quality of the work, like things from what's Genevieve's movie again, I don't know, Crime and Justice, Crime and Justice Lagos. I forgot why that Lionheart. Yinka Edwards' work is amazing. Like the shots, you could really say the composition of the shots, the angles they were taking, those ones were really, really cinematic, like really, really good cinematic shots. The overall production value of the whole project, you can see that a lot was put into, a lot of investment was made. Like it's kind of things that since last, like I think from last year, from Blood Sisters to Gangs of Lagos to things with Kole Afolayan, there's a certain level that the production value of Nollywood, there's a certain standard of when the big boys come to town, there's like, okay, the production standards go up and kind of the level raises above at least the average Nollywood work that you can see, okay, this production value has gone up. The art design, cinematography, lighting, beautiful, all beautiful. Even normally I know we would, I know Mr. C has an issue with drone shots, but I think all the drone shots that were taken for this particular movie were actually very nice. Very, very, very good. There are some particular shots that kind of like kind of stuck to me. There was when the kind of like was contemplating, like, okay, after like they had killed his son, and he stood in front of the church, like, and it was almost like it was that, for me, it was that whole, okay, these people have left this my life of the Paul Dima, the guy that leads assassination and coups and everything. I've left it behind, but I've chosen to follow the way of the book and everything, and now I'm faced with a choice that I might have to return. I liked that shot where it had both. Like the shots, it was nice to look at. It was also, it felt like, okay, there was an emotional stake in the shots. I also like the explosions, the effects for when the color nuts, or was it granuts, when they shared it and everything was like boom. That's like, okay, this was a highlight. Like that, the explosions looked very like eye catching. There were also a lot of some cool props. The guns, there was like the bullets and guns. They were like, and the gunshots. I'm like, okay. What else again? I liked. I'm thinking I'm forgetting the general, his chair. I don't know if it was. I liked the idea of like the chair was like an automatic, like he could control the armchair. Just for him, it was just like, okay, that was also a cool prop to have to show that he has aged, but he has like this cool tech chair that he can control by himself. The stunt walk, there was it was already in the trailer, but I still have to appreciate it because it was all in one shot. The guy that fell from the building and fell onto that place after I think he got taken out by a sniper. That was okay, cool. Stunt walk, some cool stunt walk and everything. Still one of the shots, again, if I remember one of the shots, I think the shot I like at the end when RMD and the general are having a discussion, when he puts the gun in front of him, but they're kind of backing us, but you can see them in silhouettes, and they're like, you understand, then he puts the gun in front of him, you understand, then the general goes down like okay, that's it. He gives him a choice, and then the general sort of shoots himself, tries to shoot RMD, and there are no bullets in the gun. I'm like, okay, cool. Now please, anybody, please forgive me for this, but Sam Dede, please, when he had the character, when Sam Dede kidnapped I think it's Robert Young, and he had the baby. Please just forgive me, my spirit. I was like, please kill the baby. Let us know you're a bad. I'm sorry, I feel sick for feeling like the boy. I was like, if you are a bad guy, kill the baby. And he killed the baby. I was like, yeah, now I know that you're an evil soul. Anything that happens to you, I am happy to from now. You have proven that you are unworthy of forgiveness. You have no human feeling. You can kill a baby. No, you're a bad person. You deserve to die. Thank you. That was good to clarify that. Okay, this person is a soulless goat that it deserves to die. So yeah. Okay. I don't know. Are you guys timing me? My time should be up now. But I mean, those are my good.
Yeah.
Those are my good points. If I remember anything else, I'll probably put it in the comments. But those are my good points for the Black Book.
All right, thanks, Rotimi. Yes, paying respect to Pat Nebo, who, yes, always seems to do fantastic work and just passed away recently. Weird seeing him acting for the first time, but was good to see. Drone shots, it's not every type of drone shot I have a problem with, by the way, but yeah, I understand. And nice to know that Rotimi is a supporter of baby killing. All right, everybody mark that. All right. So I think Scarecrow is next.
Okay. Yeah. So the things I loved about the Black Book, as a couple of things have been mentioned, so I'll not dwell too much. But one of the things I enjoyed was the variations in locations. That was great. It's as they obviously they set out to be different, so it was good that we did not have our regular cameo of Lekki Koito Bridge, Lekki Bridge. Then there were shots. There were really good shots. Rotimi mentioned some of them, but I think one of that shots that I enjoyed and it showed attention to tiny details was the scene where RMD was leaving the mortuary, and what's her name? The journalist walked up to him. There was, if you noticed in that shot, he's coming from the morgue or police station, and there were caskets. There were caskets there. So there was something subtle, green about that shot that provoked some emotions, as everybody has rightly opined. The first 23 minutes, to be precise, were just something else. And Rotimi, you're not really Macbeth. I did not expect him to shoot the baby because it's not something that you see in a lot of movies. Even in Hollywood, nobody really does that. It's weird, but seeing it, I enjoyed some of the fight scenes. It showed that some work went into trying to make fights look realistic. The props with the weapons were really good. They were really, really, really good. As an action movie lover, there are a lot of things I enjoyed with regards to the shooting techniques, handling of recoil. That was really good. Some of the dialogue wasn't the best, but obviously they've given us memorable lines. I don't think anybody is going to say Shady Granotte. Shady Granotte is going to might become part of our lingua soon. And costume wasn't bad. Could be better, but it wasn't bad. Yeah, but all in all, those are the things I like about the movie.
All right, thanks, Scarecrow. I'm just going to read out some of the comments that have been coming through. So Adeayo says, seeing the old Nollywood women and men together was nice. Sound, for example, when he was in the kitchen with the kettle whistling and song. The shots and locations were beautiful. Also, the setup, first 30 minutes was written well, emotional, deep. I was expectant for the rest of the movie. All right, okay. Elizabeth, please can you tell us some of the things you liked about the Black Book?
Hi. So what do I like? First, location. I thought the location were used were really good. And it also adds to, I think it also enhances the cinematography, right? So I think it's a plus both ways. It's sort of like intertwined for the location and the cinematography. Inka Edward had like a couple of good shots. Not couple, I can't actually count, like a few more shots that I really liked. I think when they shot what's his face? Kelly Shodebe's character, and then the barrel it fell, and then the policeman walked into frame. I thought it was nice. What else? Alex Yusufo Obiago. When I was younger, I thought this man was menacing, like the way he acted back then and the way he looked. And somehow, in my memory, it feels like he is frozen from back then till now, for like almost 3 decades now. And I thought it was really good because the acting just feels like he really knows acting like the back of his palm. Like, that's really good. Alexis Sifo, amazing. Pat Nebo, as an actor, that was also, I mean, rest in peace, but that was also very good. I liked this character so much. I'm like, why has Pat Nebo not been acting? That was really good. I thought his performance was great. What else? The casting of the younger versions, I thought it was brilliant. Femi as younger Alex worked. And also, I might not be Joseph Omodu's biggest fan, but I could see the vision in him being younger RMD. And he even tried to get that old voice, even the slight raise of the curl of the lips. I thought, oh, not bad, not too bad. And also, always, Adilaoye as a plot device. Adilaoye as a plot device. Just throw in Adilaoye in there as a journalist or something. I'm not so sure of how well she was utilized in this movie, but yes, I really liked seeing Adilaoye as a plot device. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Yes, I just enjoyed looking at that woman throughout this film. What a beautiful person. All right. Okay. Next on the quiz, please. If I move you, please don't take offense.
Do take offense.
There's a quiz. I'm trying to get people through it. All right. I think Uchenna is next. Uchenna, please, can you tell us the things you liked in the Black Book?
A lot of the things I liked are probably things that other people mentioned already.
Is Uchenna speaking?
Yes.
Can anyone else hear? Is it just me?
Yeah, I can hear him.
Oh,
it's just me.
us.
Oh,
okay.
Can somebody
notify? Tell us when he's
Can
done?
somebody else notify us when he's done?
He's still speaking. Just let him.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciated the scale of dimensional world that felt that way. And the production design definitely aided in that. I liked the way that a lot of the interiors felt very lived in. They didn't feel like sets. I mean, there were sometimes I even found myself wondering about whether some of these how they got these locations to look so lived in. And the cinematography, Yinka Edward always does pretty decent work. He's not the most stylish of cinematographers, but he is always very functional in his approach. And he does his approach is always very no frills, and it's always cinematic in some way. So that really worked for me as well. Of course, people have already talked about the memorable lines. That's something that you don't get a lot from Nollywood movies, where the dialogue seems to serve the purpose of just basically exposition in some way, or to move the plot along. So I do like the fact that I'm seeing people quoting "Share the Groundnut" or the speech at the end where he talks about, there's 3 levels of people. There's us, the bloody civilians, and all that stuff like that. So there were a couple of lines like that I felt were really, really good as well. What else would I say? Jazzy Ogaga, who played, I think her name was Zara. That is the girl with the model-esque looking girl with the big gun. Yeah, she looked pretty good. I wish she had more to do, but she was a good addition that brought some color to it. And I thought Denola Gray's character also brought some interesting pizzazz to it, although again he didn't have all that much to do. So I guess that's pretty much what I have to say. Done.
Okay. Thanks, Uchenna, even though I didn't hear most of what you said. But yes, I'm sure what you said was all sensible and the best things. All right. Sorry, no fault of yours. It's Eloning. All right. I think next we have Timmy. Please, Timmy, go on. Tell us the things you liked about the Black Book.
First of all, I think I liked the color grading. I also think I liked some shots in this. I think I also liked the locations and the set design. I liked Bimba Kintola's performance where she was crying, "Oh, don't kill my baby, don't kill my baby." I liked the first act of the film. I liked how they dropped the set pieces, everything onto the 25th minutes mark or so was okay, I guess. I found it funny that this was the second time Kelechi Udegbe was acting as a bad police officer. I liked how they shot the scene where Baba Bernard came to see Paulo in the church. I was actually surprised by RMD's fighting skills. That shot where, that scene in the police station where he attacked those two police officers, I was impressed. I was like, ooh, nice. The night scene where the police dump a body into the ocean was nicely lit. I also think Adelaide tried. I liked how they shot the scene where Paul Edima was preaching, and is it the back and forth between that scene and the interactions between his son with the police? I liked how they handled that. I like the fact that they were consistent with his character, with Paul Edima's character, seeing that he didn't kill anyone because, well, he's now a changed man, he's a man of God, he's a something, something. And I also like the fact that this couple, what's their name? Is it Ireti Doyle and Patrick Doyle? Were both in the film. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. No, thanks, Timmy. Thanks for sharing. I think next is Nduka.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, so one of the main things I like about the film is the ambition. I like how big it is. I like that. I feel proud actually that Nollywood is delivering something on this scale. So there's that. I like the look of it. I like the production design, the cinematography. My favorite are all the shots in Kaduna. Like I guess we are all tired of shots in Lagos. So that whole move to Kaduna was like really nice. I love that. I see that a lot of work was put into it. I really love the costumes, the set design. Those were great. I don't know about other people, but I really like Denola in this. I like there is this dead look in his eyes. I don't know if it is deliberate, but it just worked for the character, even though the character doesn't last long. So I liked that. So yeah, those were most of the things I liked about the film.
All right. No, thanks, Nduka. I hear you about a lot of that. Might fight on one or two of those. Inkons, welcome back. Please tell us some of the things you liked about the Black Book.
Hello, everybody. So what I like about the Black Book, first of all, I like the acting. All of the actors, most of the actors, like most of the time, it was the scene that it was supposed to give. They did their job, you know. I think one of the strong parts of this movie is definitely the acting. And I do also think that one of the strong parts in this movie is I like the story setup. And like, yeah, like everybody says, the first 30 minutes was pretty strong. But I also think that this movie pretty much like landed well. Like it didn't go to, I wouldn't say it's as coerced or as like locked in as many other movies. But then again, as an action movie, that is almost like John Wick, but it's not John Wick. This actually has more character development than necessarily John Wick does. But um, I thought it did well. I thought it was a pretty good, maybe slightly above average um, action movie, and it has very good lines too. I do like the production design done by, I think it's Pat Neighbor that did the production design. I'm so sorry that he's dead. May he rest in peace. Yeah, I also like the action too. I don't know if anybody even noticed this, but one of the things about action recently, or maybe 5 years ago, when was the Taken came, Liam Neeson was not an action hero, and Liam Neeson was not also doesn't necessarily have the physicality to be doing the action thing. Like you notice they cut a lot for Liam Neeson. They don't cut a lot for because he can't do it. He can't naturally, and that's not okay. Liam Neeson was mostly a dramatic actor before Taken came around. So we can't expect Liam Neeson to be doing like Bruce Willis or that. So like or Jackie Chan or Keanu Reeves. And I think for this movie, I think the RMD did get the Liam Neeson effect, but he did train for 13 months, according to a lot of what they like to tell us. Did get kind of the Liam Neeson effect, but it was pretty clear. There was no time in some of the action movie, because one thing about action is like I kind of need to know what's going on. And there was this very scene where the gun drops, right, and the camera focuses on the gun dropping, and it comes back into play. It comes back into play, and
are we keeping it on the good side? Are we keeping it?
No, I'm saying it comes back into play that the camera focuses on the gun when they attack that house, and I think I found that to be amazing in Nollywood because they had to plan that shot. It seemed like a little shot that does something, but it came back into play, and I think that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. That's a good thing. You have to have coordination. You have to know what you're doing, and all that stuff. So this movie is pretty good. I also like I have to say this, Miss Shafi Bello, amazing. I like the aesthetic of the Nigerian auntie. We all know that type of Nigerian auntie who like wears the dresses and all that stuff and has that earring, the bigger earring, and she wears it to like do an extraction. She dresses exactly like you would expect that Nigerian auntie to dress. And I like that aesthetic because I think it's awesome. That's just grounded within, like, Nigerians can know that. Is it ridiculous that she's dressing like that to go? But hey, action movies have women walking in heels. Charlotte Johansson was doing crazy things in the first movie, in Iron Man. Like, I love that we have our own, and I thought that was the greatest thing. I was enjoying it. I totally enjoyed the movie, and it was a nice ride. I also kind of like that the movie also kind of connected to like how maybe some of the stuff might resolve in Nigeria. Like instead of going to like we're going to go to the press, right? They go to the army and be like, oh, this general messed with the army, and that's what really gets him into trouble. So yes, the movie, I love the shots. I love the fact that it took them time to do this, and for a first time Nigerian director, wow, it's a pretty good mainstream pop action movie that I think it's good. The acting was first of all, let me just also say Bimba Akitola, amazing. It's good to see all this old. I'm about to finish. It's good to see all these old actors do their thing, and I think that's what elevated the movie. I am ending. Don't talk too much. You always
I will meet you. Of course,
mute me. That's
you're
what
the
you do
first
all the
person.
time.
You're the first person to overdo your time. Of course, it's you. All right. Anyway, but thank you, because much appreciated. And I think on that list, Ava, if you're there, please tell us some of the things you liked about the Black Book.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, it was a good movie. Pretty much a lot of people have said what I was going to say. Someone mentioned the color grading, which a lot of people tend to miss out or just lump in with cinematography. I don't know whether, Yinka Edwards also did the color grading, but the color grading was really good. It looked good. I don't know anything about it, but I just liked it. I love the use of colors. Of course, the shot composition was good too. Another thing that gets overlooked, of course, is the sound design and the score. And they paid a lot of attention to sound design because something in sound design is like, if two people are in a scene and one person taps another person's shoulder, that makes a sound. And they took their time to really attend to the small details, the Foley and all that stuff. That's really what makes it pop. So, Mr. C, I know you're always going on and on about bad sound in Nollywood. Bad sound in Nollywood. Nollywood's bad sound. I hope we can agree that we had good sound this time around. The dialogue sounded crisp as well. Of course, the score, the score was really good. I love the way the music was pounding at the beginning and it kept the energy all the way to the end. I love the song choices. It started out with, I think, like a Fela song. And then there was a Dinachi song when the baby died or when the son died? Somebody died and they played a song by Dinachi and she was the one who did the song for the setup, Lights Go Out, which is one of my favorite songs. So I love the song choices. I love the sound design. I love the score. And yeah, that's it.
All right, thanks, Eva. Yes, I do have sound design on my notes as one of the things that I appreciated about this. They put in a lot of work for that one. But yeah, all right. And let me see who next. Paraventure, please can you tell us some of the things you liked about the Black Book?
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can.
Great. Yeah, so I think people have said all the things I wanted to say. But I just wanted to say I saw Equalizer 3 a few days before I saw this. And obviously, I think the similarities, you've got two old men in this acting as action leads. And there were themes of vengeance and all that you have in both films. And I did not enjoy Equalizer 3. I just kept comparing, and I thought, actually, I wish I had watched this in the cinema rather than Equalizer 3. I thought there was more character development in this. It looked, well, I wouldn't say it looked better. They shot that in south of Italy, so it was always going to be a hard fight, but this looked good. I think they said they spent $1 million on this, and it looked like they spent $2 million. That's how good I thought it looked. Some of the acting was quite good too. I thought Bimba Ketala was outstanding. I thought she was, she shined in every scene she was in. RMD didn't do badly as well. I thought he had a lot to carry and he pretty much carried it well most of the time, even though it was let down in some instances by some of the writing. But where it was, okay, where he had to, he did as well as I thought he could. And what else did I like? Oh yeah, I think he did the marketing for Editi Effiong. That is, he's into digital marketing. You can tell. I thought the marketing for this film was outstanding, and when you juxtapose it with what Amazon Prime and their releases do, I thought it was. If you want a template for how to market a film, he's done pretty well. He did the same thing for his previous film. He didn't direct. I think he executive produced. Forget the name now. The one was based in the North as well. So I think he likes the North. I thought the marketing for that was outstanding as well. Although that film was nowhere as good as this one. And that's it. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Paraventure. Appreciate the feedback. I do keep the comments coming. I will read them in a bit. Decap, please, can you tell us some of the things you liked about the Black Book?
Hi everyone. I think I have two favorite things about the Black Book. Things that for me and it was first the Shafi Bello's performance. I really liked her performance. She was really effortless in that role, subtle, and you could see. I mean, you could just see how ruthless she is without. I mean, just from, just by her being, yeah. And it's something that I really liked, and I'm hoping that someday she leads. She leads. It doesn't have to be an action. Just leads a film where she's this ruthless villain or an anti-hero, whatever they make of it now. But yeah, I would love to see her lead a KOB type film. I think she'd be perfect in a role like that. Yeah. Second, I think it was surprising for me watching Pat Nibble and then God rest his soul. But yeah, I didn't know what to expect, but I liked him in the role, and I just wish that we saw more of him, saw more. I mean, I think I went through the comments and I think I'll go back now to check. I hear that he had minor roles in Citation and 76. Yeah, but I wish I paid more attention to Pat Nibble, the actor, and yeah. So those two are my favorite things about Black Book: Shafi Bello and Pat Nibble.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Zika. I think the Citation one might be a misremember. I think they're confusing it with this him with this other actor that's passed, because I think somebody said he would play the professor. I don't remember that. But anyway, thanks, Zika. James, do you want to tell us some of the things you liked about the Black Book?
Hi everyone. I usually not speak about these things publicly, but I will give flowers to those who deserve it. I do have two sides to my conversation, but let me talk about the things that I loved about the Black Book. I think the first thing which stood out obviously was the cinematography. Not just the cinematography in terms of lighting and then shot composition and whatnot, but sometimes every shot told had a separate, well, not separate, but had a deeper meaning. I think one of my favorite shots in the film was after his son died and he had that conversation with Pat Nibble. He stood by the church and there was an aerial shot of him looking at the church and walking away from it. And I think there was a dialogue that he said that basically opened up the kind of worms to his past life, which is him going. This was before he went to the police station, meaning that, that shot was a significant step into the next plot, which was him going to look for his. Going to get the case from the police and then becoming this badass equalizer, XYZ, human being. I thought that some bits of the writing, in terms of the pacing, was very, beautifully done. I felt like the inciting incidents was the inciting incidents. They introduced the characters when they needed to introduce the characters, the rise in action, the, climax, and everything up to the resolution. I felt like they did well to follow this structure, and I have to be very careful when I say this. Which was quite beautiful. I didn't feel like I was bored. Production design was phenomenal. Pat Nebo did a beautiful job, as always. God rest his soul. The music was beautiful. I think one of my best pieces was when Adelaye was the first time we get introduced to Adelaye when she's talking to I forget her name now. Mrs. Lyshak. I don't know. Let me not bust it up. But that music piece was very beautiful. I think everything was done perfectly. Sound design, like Ava said, was beautiful. I think the editing was also very beautiful. There was nowhere that I felt like there were jump cuts, so I felt disoriented from the screen. It was quite good in some places, well, like 90% of the time. Yeah, pretty much. Those are the things that I liked about Black Book.
All right, thanks, James. I had a couple of those job cutty type things that I saw, but anyway, to each their own, I guess. Mrs. C will tell us the things she liked in a bit. I think is that everyone on here? Let me just double check. I've not missed anyone. Okay, all right. Some of the things I like. Let me get to my notes. I thought, I think people have mentioned Shafi was good. I thought for a lot of the work RMD had to do, he did really well. The look, I've put the look in this, and a lot of people have spoken about it in general in terms of cinematography, production design, color grading. I think when I was watching in the first few minutes, and I was thinking, this actually looks like a film. This looks like a film. And that might sound silly, but it's not something I've said. And for a long time, I was like, oh my God, I think this might be on par with something like, I think this might be on par with something like Aim of It, but then later on it was like, it's not quite there yet, but it still looks pretty good. I think it's probably, I think it has to be in the top 5 nice, best looking Nollywood films. ADR was really good. Sound design was also good. ADR was so good that I thought I was tripping when I saw just slight things that I noticed, but the mix and the way it was edited in was very good. I've been saying this for so long, and I think all of them are bad until today. But the voiceover work from RMD was superb. It actually felt like, number one, he was acting. He didn't feel like he was reading lines. It had a purpose. For a lot of times, it was the voiceover of a letter that he had written for Ade's character. And it was just really good. It was good voiceover acting. I was like, wow, okay, so we can actually do this. So I don't get to say all of our voiceovers are bad. The score, I think people have mentioned the score as well. I agree in most of the places. Most of the places I thought it was good, professional. And yeah, I think the other thing I have on here is RMD's look-ish. He seems to embody exactly the type of character he's playing, and he did really well given some of the other things surrounding this film that I will be speaking about soon. Mrs. C, what did you like about the Black Book?
So I think I like basically a lot of things that people have said. Like, it's just quite beautiful to look at. I feel like when we were going from location to location, I just loved basically every location. RMD's house was great. I loved the church. The production design of RMD's house, I really loved that as well. The editor's office, I loved the way that looked. Just visually, like in terms of this combination of the production design, the location, picture quality, everything, it was just really good. I really liked how that looked. I like that most of the film was, I liked a lot of the setup. I really did. I know I think I've heard or seen some people were like, when's the action starting? But I liked all of that background work because it didn't feel like filler. it felt like the story was moving through all that. We're getting from point A to point B, and I liked all of that. I enjoyed, for the most part, that story in the first act and most of the second act. And again, until the third act curse, I felt like the story was progressing quite logically. It was flowing, and it seems like a weird thing to praise, but considering what we've been through, that was nice to have. Opening scene where we have the robbery, where they do the kidnapping, the action in that scene I really liked, because it reminded me of, I think, the action, the chaos, everything going on. Reminded me of another film, action.
Sometimes
Sorry.
start pulling punches.
Oh, never mind. So it reminded me of Brotherhood, right? When they were having that shootout on the bridge. And this just seemed so much better. Like, it just really seemed like what would happen if a shootout started on the street. The chaos, the running around, the way they held. And I know the director has been quite proud of all the gun training he did and the gun handling and learning of that. And yeah, because for the most part, people were holding guns like they've held guns before, right? Which was good to have. As much as I don't appreciate Kelechi Udegbe getting typecast so much, I did think he played his role well as well. And I like that we didn't go the collision cause route of giving the police some weird little backstory or, pity them too. No, be a villain, right? It is what it is. So I appreciated that. I thought Bimba Kintala's acting was beautiful when she fell to the ground after her look when he shot the baby, right? I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was beautifully done. I think Elizabeth mentioned Alex Osifo and how he felt frozen. Really just feels like the Alex Osifo I remember, right? The voice is powerful, like he's commanding something, which I really loved. What else did I like? RMD. I won't say through, but basically I liked seeing him first off in this role where he's, for the first how long of the film, right? Where when he's a father, right? When he was preaching in church, I thought his little sermon was adorable when he gave his little examples and he smiled. I thought, oh, this is really sweet. And it's different, right? From where we usually see him as like, oh, look at that. He still has some range. That's nice. I think his scream, right? When he was on the ground after his son died, his scream felt like it really came from inside. So I really enjoyed that as well. So yeah, there were a few bits of acting that I enjoyed, and I liked that we didn't go the collision cause route. Oh no, yeah, there were quite a number of things I liked about the Black Book.
Okay, sorry. The thing is for people. We're going to. Oh yeah, I said I was going to read a couple more of your tweets. Still human, I think. Says Chichi shared the granite was really cool. Rotimi says I really liked when R&D slammed the policeman headfirst into the table. The combat move looked very realistic, quick and effective. Okay, all right. We're going to go into the things that we did not like, and it's this person.
Artist formerly known as Vanessa. It's Usher, baby. Just also, I just gonna ask, are you all going to be as concise as you were during the good? Because y'all did really well keeping to time. So let's keep the spirit going.
All right. Yeah, we'll
still time you.
But the masses here. Go on. Stuff we didn't like. All right, let's go.
Okay. So as much as this film looked like a film and looked expensive and all the good stuff, yada 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 yada, I didn't feel anything. And I know I have said this more times than I can count. I need Nollywood to start to make me feel. And a lot of this I'm going to blame a lot of this on the dialogue, on the writing, on the directing of the actors, because the dialogue felt very choppy. It felt very unnatural. And then I guess that led to the actors saying those lines feel very disconnected from the lines that they were saying. And in effect, just ended up not making me feel emotionally connected to anything that was happening. I guess if you liked the action sequence on the first scene, good for you. It didn't feel like anything more than Sam Dede yelling, "Get in the car, get in the car, get in the car, get in the car." And I was like, how many get in the cars are we gonna get? We get the point. You want him to get in the car. It's convenient that he didn't get in the car, because obviously that's gonna lead to RMD's son dying. He didn't get in the car. I don't know, man. That opening scene did nothing. Literally, the opening scene, I paused after I watched the opening scene, and I was like, is this what I am getting into? Because if this is what this is going to be, then I'm in for a long haul. As much as Bimbo Akintola's performance after her baby was brutally shot was great, the minutes/seconds preceding that moment were not great. I don't. It just wasn't it. It just wasn't doing anything for me. Yeah, no, neither did Sam Dede, and this is probably one of Nollywood's most iconic action stars. It's Sam Dede, and Sam Dede wasn't giving action. I get it, he's older, he's slowing down. It just didn't feel like anything. The there was a lot of talk about RMD training with the US Navy / SEALs / I don't know who he trained with. I would have liked to see some of that training. I don't know. I get it. It was a nighttime scene. I don't know why they decided to shoot it in the nighttime. Why it wasn't better lit so we can actually see those movements. Barely saw RMD fight for a man who was the most dangerous man in West Africa, as they reminded us over and over again. I was like, where is the action? Where is the result of all this training, guys? Speaking of unsatisfactory feelings with action, I actually like the decision of Denola Gray as the one who does not fail. Fumigator Bikiloman, what did they call him? Something. And I was like, okay, expecting a bad guy, and here comes Denola strutting into the camera, and I screamed. I was like, yes. But then 2 seconds later, my guy was stomped out like a cockroach. We didn't even get a fight scene between our unfailing guy and the main guy. Like, you can't give us what is supposed to be stakes and not actually use him as high stakes. Like, he didn't kill anybody of importance to the plot. He didn't do anything. Literally, okay, so he shot at the DPO's office and killed whatever his face is, the deputy guy, Kechuku's character that nobody cares about. Who was being called a name that was completely different from what was on his badge, even though apparently he was being referred to as his middle name, but how are we supposed to know that? He didn't kill anybody of import. And then for one of Big Daddy's, and it wasn't even Big Daddy who killed him, it wasn't anybody of importance who actually took him out. It was one of Big Daddy's assassins with, what's it called? Killed him on the staircase of an uncompleted building. Like, is that how he goes out? What was the point? Like, he didn't do anything of import to moving the plot along. So why introduce him as this thing that we're supposed to be afraid of? Another missed opportunity, if you ask me. I think that's what this film feels like. A lot of missed opportunities. And I know we've spoken about like the Hollywoodification of Nollywood and like of Nigerian cinema. And while like, yes, fine, use certain templates, because action templates, this particular film has been made in many different ways. The revenge plot, and son killed, taken, all of that. You have to make it work for the Nigerian reality. And yes, while there were a few things that was an attempt at making it work for the Nigerian reality, it still felt like a poor imitation of a Hollywood film. Even and it's a clear example is in how Madam Journalist was portrayed. And I feel so sorry for Adelauye, because Adelauye is an incredibly talented actress, but for whatever reason, Nollywood doesn't want my babe to be great. This is twice now that she has played this weird, whatever this thing is, of a journalist. First was in Ayinla, and then in this as well. and they keep giving her these one-dimensional characters. Mind you, this is somebody who is apparently going to be pivotal to the plot, and she still just doesn't feel like a real person. And so her acting just comes off as one-dimensional as the character that she was given.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm still coming back, or if this is what we're doing, if you're about to cut me off, I'm going to come back because my thoughts haven't been done yet.
Okay. All right. That's
Okay.
fine. Thanks. It's supposed to be a multitude, but I can't get him. I can't see him on, and so we'll go Scarecrow.
Okay. Some of the things I didn't like, again, as an action movie, is the fight scene, the scene at the church where the journalist was kidnapped. The way some of the thugs that Sam Dede brought on rushed into their deaths, it didn't show any proper training of combat scenario, of how that sort of scenario should be handled. If you're going up against, quote unquote, one of the most dangerous guys, the expectation is the people you're going to go with to take him out would have some sense, they'll have some spatial awareness on how to handle that situation. But that was one problem I had. It showed in a lot of the combat scenes that even if they had training, but that thing about spatial awareness, what you need to do, how close quarter combats are meant to be done, didn't really show. Then there was a scene where I think something it was missed. What's his name? Okay, the police officer, when he was shot. I don't know if a lot of people picked it. When he was shot, and when the camera was panning away to Sam Dede walking away, if you look closely, you could see that he was still breathing. His hands were moving. Because his hands was in a tourniquet, so he was on his stomach. So you could notice his hand moving. I don't know how they missed that. Though I don't know how they missed that, but that was something I picked. Like as the previous speaker said, like the fight scene in RMD's house could have been better lit. So that we could see what was going on. Yeah, it was basic. The action for me, I think the one thing I didn't really like was the action could have been better. It wasn't terrible, but it could have been better. So for me, that's my biggest. Those are the things I didn't like about the movie.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Scarecrow. Ahmad, please, can you give us some of the things you didn't like?
Okay, thanks for having me back. So, about this movie, what I didn't like, the lead character in this movie, the protagonist was passive. Paul Idima. I don't know if the pronunciation is correct. Paul Idima is not what they claim he is. Because actually, I feel like the most dangerous man in Nigeria, who has been to many coups in West Africa, he was just passive for that kind of description. At some point, I just felt like he was waiting for the bad guys to come at him, before he does anything. Kind of, even throughout the third act, he was passive. Shapibilo carried the whole third act of this movie. They said RMD trained with the Marine, and I was like, okay, what was the point of training with the Marine in this movie? Because I didn't see anything. The only thing, okay, when he fought with the police officers, when he fought with the bad guys when they came into his home, and what else? He didn't fight. Just those two scenes, and the rest he was shooting, kind of. And people are calling him John Wick. This is not John Wick, I beg. This is a disrespect to John Wick. His character was passive, and the sub characters were the one carrying him, moving him. And Mrs. C said this. There was like the flow from one plot to another in Act 1 and Act 2 made sense. No, they don't make any sense at all, because I was kind of confused that, okay, how did we move from revenge to a book with many documentation, and then we moved to a safe. So see, I was just confused, like, what was going on with this movie? the plots didn't really work. The writing was not it at all. The coincidences in this movie never make any sense. You know, they killed your son. It was a mistaken identity, actually. Not like they targeted your son, not like they really knew who you are. So it was a mistaken identity. And from mistaken identity, we realized that you had a big deal with these bad guys. And now the big deal is the one you want to use to, get revenge for your son. And then from that, there is a journalist. Even this journalist now, we didn't know that she doesn't know you. I think I would have preferred if the journalist had known Polydima, maybe with the Reverend Father, and when this whole thing happened, it was not she was interested in it because she knew him, because she knows him rather, because she knows him. So I think that would have made enough sense. But the coincidences were not just making it for me. I was like, okay, what's going on? And it made the plot, kind of complex, just too complex. And this movie lacks identity in kind of way. I think they wanted to just do a lot of Hollywood tropes, kind of. It when this guy lost his son, when Polydima lost his son, he was kind of lonely, alone in his house, kind of, thinking or mourning. I don't know what he was doing, but I realized that in Nigeria, for someone who is a deacon at church, you would see people mourning in his house. Maybe they come, even if they are not shouting like in a melodramatic way, like you will see people around him. For a deacon, I don't know. This movie is just Hollywood. It tried to be Hollywood, not Nollywood. It lacked an identity, and that's when he was, giving himself a shot. I was like, what is this taking? Is it diabetic? Is it taking insulin or what? What was that scene for? I don't know. Is it adrenaline or what? So and all the let me call it mood board, like a plan board, or like someone who is going on a mission, all that. I was like, okay, what's the purpose of all this? And something I noticed was that when the journalist, when he hit the journalist in his I don't know what I would call that place, and she saw childhood picture, I was like, okay, has he been keeping that picture since then? Someone who has, forgotten his past, is trying to live a new life. Why is he keeping those pictures? Why is he keeping those books? Why? So this movie kind of didn't know what it was trying to do. Maybe it was not going to be a revenge, or maybe it was going to expose bad guys. Kind of. I wish it was straightforward. Like, okay, you are going to revenge the murder of your son. It would have just been. So, and yes, the third act was confusing. The only thing they did in Kaduna, it was very confusing. I didn't know how we got there, because must they go to Kaduna? I don't know. Why did they have to go and do Kaduna? Is it because they want to do their stunts, the driving stunts, all that?
Okay.
And the dialogue is bad. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amadou. Just want to, it's not pushback time. I do want to say it. Calling this lead a passive lead, I feel massively just incorrect. But we can get to that a little bit later. The thing I do want to mention, just in case other people feel, because I do have issues with the plot, but just in case don't fall into the trap of thinking this as a revenge film, because I know it resembles a lot of the revenge. So like people have said things like Taken and that kind of thing. It resembles that, but if we actually pay attention to the film, he doesn't want any revenge. He just wants to bury his son, and he's trying to sort of clear. I think there's some part of it is trying to clear his son's name.
Yeah, but that's not what the plot description says. I'm so sorry.
I'm talking about the film.
Yeah, but that's not what the plot description says. You can't tell us a film is one thing and then expect us to...
Are we talking about the plot description? Are we talking about the film we watched? We're talking about the film.
So why did they describe it as that?
I don't know. I don't
So you
really.
can't blame
Look,
us.
that's not what
No,
I'm
you
talking
can't
about.
blame us
Yeah.
for going into this expecting a
Hold
revenge
on, but
No,
film.
I'm not.
but this is the same thing that happened with the one for Sarah, right? The ads and all that gave us, oh, Sarah is having to pick between three love interests, and then we watch it and no, it's a stalker ex,
This is
a
the thing. You can't
bestie,
blame us for going into a
and
film expecting one thing because we've been told what to
I'm talk,
expect, and then give
I'm
us an
not. I'm not
entirely
talking about
different
your.
thing. Of course, we're
I'm
going
not
to
talking
judge
about
it
your
based on what we
expectations.
were told
I'm
to
not talking about your
expect.
expectations. I'm not talking about your expectations. I'm talking about what you. We're a Nollywood Film Club, and we're talking about the
But
film
people
we
are going to
saw.
make their comments based on that because they went into a film expecting certain things. And so that is the eye, those are the eyes with which they watch the film, Mr. C. It doesn't change the fact that the film is what it is. No one's arguing what the film isn't and is.
Is
Yes, yeah,
sun dying already
that's
reached the
the
first take? Our first inciting incident was the sun dying, please.
Okay, all right. Everybody calm down.
And it was a
Calm down. Everybody calm down. The only reason why I said what I said was just bearing in mind that what Paul was doing was not going for revenge. Because anyway, they we shall come and cook you. I'm just telling you now.
Not today they don't do cook.
All right. Okay. I think next we have I've forgotten this. So we've had Scarecrow, we've had
I'm next.
yeah, all right.
Yeah, so 6 minutes, I'm going to try to time myself. If not, I will go after Vanessa whenever she comes back. Okay, so I start now. So sorry. So I want to break my entire analysis to first acting, directing, dialogue, and then the characterization, then just the writing generally. So for the acting, personally, I felt like the actors were badly utilized. Like take Bimbo, for example. The acting did not justify anything that I was saying. It didn't justify for me because I do get a pain. Or rather, I do understand because it's been written that way that I should understand that pain, right? There was something that was holding me back, and I think this also falls on directing choices. We'll talk about that. And then, when they now threw you in the IVF line to force the audience to feel even sorrier than they already felt, it wasn't organic. So, because a lot of things happening were not organic, yeah, a lot of the acting also wasn't organic. So, while some of the casting worked for some of the characters were also unnecessary because directors did nothing with them. There was no form, no depth, just lazy plot line to push the story forward. I also think the journalist fits into this. If you're a regular on this show, you know that there's nothing that pisses me off rather than, resolving like initial premise. But I don't care that the stakes change or whatever, or that the Nigerian government is corrupt. I just felt like the acting that I was seeing wasn't justifying, and I do place this on how the characters are written and the story is written and the directing choices. So let's go to directing choices. The entire movie for me was clumsy and hardly cohesive. So the choices made in the directing of this film very interesting. Now we have policemen and the soldier. We saw a policeman and a soldier at our whoever's house. That's been back in Tola's house. And then these kidnappers called her and she took the call by the window. Now, niggas, people tell me, even if you have never seen a film about kidnapping, ransom, whatever, anything in this life, she was taking this call by herself. Nobody was listening on the call. They were not trying to try. Look, Nigerian police are actually very useless, but they will somehow track who is calling, where it's calling from. She was just there taking call by the window, and then she fell to the ground and she was crying. And then the police now came and the soldier now came and they stood in front of her. I'm like, what's going on here? And then there was that scene in the opening scene. Vanessa already mentioned that when the sacks showed up, get into the car. Look, by the time they were shouting to get into the car, and somebody got into the car and they took people into the car and the car ran. The sacks could have caught them under that bridge. They could not have even gone anywhere. Rather, the sacks ran into the frame and just stood there. Chase these guys now. And I was like, I don't know. I had to rewind it, watch it twice to be sure I caught that. There are no choices here that was fully justified. A sad father approached the police and requested for the case file. As how now? As who? As deacon or pastor? Is that how they used to just release case file up and down to people? And then Adelaide came from nowhere. So, she was taking a picture of the father, and then she just walked. Apart from when they introduced us to us, being just that troublemaker looking for story, whatever. She took picture and they walked into the frame and says, "I know your son is innocent. I can prove it." Like that. Nothing set up, nothing. Even me, I was shocked. I was like, okay, you should just roll over with it and just agree. Say, okay, you can prove it. Let's go. What was the intention? See, I didn't even see I worked that case or anything. So the idea of time, how long was all of this? Because this movie treated time like a concept, just a concept. Idea of time was just, things were just happening. We don't know the sequence time. I don't know. I'm trying to, sorry, I'm trying to, and nothing is set up that required so. Anything that required so, nothing was set up. Like the Edima Jr. dying, I didn't feel sorry. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm being desensitized to death, but I didn't really feel sorry. I don't know. Okay, I will go get into that with writing. Action sequence, I don't know if it was badly shot or poorly directed. I don't know what's going on. In scenes where there were a lot of extras, it seemed like it was rowdy. Okay. Like the scene when they were dragging him out of the police station when he went to ask for case file and police pounced on him, he pounced on them. And all the police came to take this man out, take this. It was so noisy. I don't know what was happening. It was like a protest, the sound. I don't know. There should be a method to the madness. It just seemed like there was a lot of madness, nothing method going on, right? Even that should be well directed. I expected that much. And then the kidnapper was, the kidnapper was killed, that is Edima Jr., and then the body of the kidnapped was found days later. When the kidnapper mastermind had already been killed, this movie stressed me, especially, like I said, the concept of time here, the concept of place too, concept. So dialogue, the movie treats dialogue like an accessory. Oh, my baby is here. This movie treats dialogue like an accessory. In the first scene, we see our policeman. The policeman says, no, the kidnapper. And then the kidnapper says, this is my problem with you Nigerians. When I heard that line, I'm like, we have the far away from home syndrome here, where throughout the film, we're just hearing dreams. Episode 1, my dream, I have a dream. And then in another scene, when Adelaide, she was seeking for justice, went to the father, I said, just let it go. And she goes, this is my problem with you Nigerians. I'm like, fantastic writing there. And then, how many sons have you sent to the grave that when you were a general's favorite weapon? I'm like, oh my God. I kept my head of the bargain. I walked away. So why does the general want to kill me? When did they want to kill you again? I don't understand. Okay, yeah. They killed your son, so now they want to kill you. What are the choices that led to this particular dialogue, right? A lot of this thing, this is Kaduna. Every man here who has a gun, I control. Oh, I am a woman, no one controls us. Oh my God. There were so many cringe lines in this film. Now, character, have I reached my time? Have I done 6 minutes? Because I'm timing too.
Yeah, we're doing 5 minutes and you have
5 minutes. I'll be back because I still have writing and characterization. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Elizabeth. All right. Rotimi, do you want to give us your side of the things that you do not enjoy about the Black Book?
Okay. So, let me just say this thing as I see it. Let me not say respectfully. I think one of the good things about the Black Book that people appreciate is the ambition. I also think that the ambition is actually one of the things that undoes the good that was done in this thing. And when I mean this, I mean like I feel the story was slightly, if not, maybe not slightly, over convoluted, both with characters and with the elements of the story. Now, and this for me, SARS killed an ex-military man's son. A ex-military man that has been in charge of assassinations and this thing and coups and everything. They don't know who they killed. They killed Dima's son. This is why it ties into the Hollywood stuff. Oh, they killed John. Oh, you stole John Wick's car. Oh, take him. You understand? Have a special set of skills. You don't know who they took. They took this person, and all I need is this man going for revenge against the people that killed his son. and you strike them off the list. That's why I thought it was the black. I thought the black book was like, when somebody says that you're in my black book, it's like, oh, you offended me. And I thought we're going to just strike the people off the list and we kill all our way to the top of the head of the SARS, which might as well be the politician. But and the spectacle in the film is the display of Paul Idima that gave up his old life and not chose to follow the book. So now he gives up. He's like, he takes up, not decides because of the loss of his son, he goes back to his old ways. And you start seeing the old Polydima. He starts showing himself and he takes down the SARS. So, and while he's taking down the SARS people one by one, the SARS people are like, oh no, somebody's taking us out. You have your report that was already investigating the SARS people and now starts noticing that the SARS people are dropping one by one. And that's what leads out to Polydima. And you go your way all the way to your third act. I can remove, I'm sorry, even Sam Dede, I don't know, that kidnapping and this, we kidnap these people, kidnap this commissioner or this minister's husband and baby so that she'll give up her position and we'll put our own guy there. Then one of our guys, they saw him at the kidnapping point, they took his picture, so we kill Port Dima's son by mistake. We get our SARS guy that is also, it's kind of like sounding complicated. Then we have to go and meet Big Daddy. Then Big Daddy is in Lagos Island. Then under Lagos Island, she has the inside layer with monitors. And you have this small guy, a kid by monitor. Then we have the fumigator coming. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it just got a little bit confusing. Like, I think production should serve story, not the other way around. And that's where I feel sometimes I look at something like, we have this thing, we want to have these gunfights, we want to have this explosion here, and we start writing a story to fit what we're going to do in the production, not the other way around. All I need is Polydima taking revenge on the SARS people. And that will be enough for me. And I will be able to enjoy the movie. I will lose even the female, the hijab commandos. I will lose them. The explosions and everything, I will lose them. Share the granite, I will lose it. Your Polydima in the third act, that is the bad guy, the Polydima, you kill Polydima, is handcuffed. During the third act, while the hijab commandos are running a diversion, this thing catches so that they can carry the black book. And please, I'm just going to say this just for reality of Nigeria. I know we're talking about film here, but just reality of Nigeria. Exposing a politician or anybody will not bring them down. I'm sorry, that's just me. It's film. It can happen in film. When in reality, Nigerian politician exposing them will not bring them down. The only thing that would justify is Polydima taking these people out one by one. So it's just that for me. But the ambition, so it's almost like the hubris of the ambition, but it's almost like we're trying. I think there's one weird thing that's happening in Nollywood, especially with the things that are going to streaming. We're trying to make a big film. We're trying. I get that. It makes sense because people say, oh, we should do bigger films, we should do better films. But we still, the business of Hollywood has to serve the art of Nollywood, not the other way around. Art has to be, if you do great art, it will lead to great business. But if somebody's going to be quoting metrics, all this, and I'm like, okay, cool. But if these stories don't stick, your metrics won't last. Eventually, in time, people will like, these stories are not doing anything for me, and they will stop coming. The way they have stopped going to the cinema, and that's the thing that people are like, oh, I don't count data. But people tell me, I don't waste my data. I'm like, how can you waste data? You're using data right now. But they're like, I'm not wasting my data. I'm like, we have to think, you do art design, you do set design, you do lighting design. There should also be careful thought into the story design. And the story design is one of those things that even if you don't have a lot, even if you don't have this size of budget, but you have a great story design, people will appreciate it. And the money that we put in it will now enhance the story. Not we pour money on something because we're throwing money. I feel like we're staying into this weird zone. We're throwing money at problems. And the main core problem, how we design the story and how it fits, it's not yet been solved. And we're throwing, and the ambition looks good on paper. On surface level, it looks good. But if I watch it and I put too much of a microscope on it, that's why it feels as though these people are just hating on the movie. No, I'm not hating on the movie. I want the movie to succeed. I like movies. If the movie is dope and it's for Nigeria, I will boast about it. You understand? But if the movie is not all that I can't, I'll find what I like about it. But I have to say that, do I think this thing is perfect? No, not necessarily. But the attempt is good. So, yeah. That's all for me.
All right. Thanks, Rotimi. Just going to read some tweets. And please, if anybody's on, I can't get more people on because some of the people I've spoken still have more to get off their chest. But if you have spoken and you do want to surrender your space, you can just drop off as a speaker. If not, we continue. All right. So Inda says, same, I had no emotional connection to any of the characters. Orange says, I didn't like how it felt like the quality of the movie switched mid-scene, especially with the chase scenes. Shoemaker Blackbird said, I honestly didn't feel anything for Bimbo. Sorry, your son or daughter died, but okay. Next scene. Israel says, not gonna lie, I still wonder why this movie was marketed as a revenge story when it was more of a political fair criticism. All right. Okay. I think next we'll Uchenna.
Okay, am I being heard? Can people hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, I do want to add one thing that I forgot to mention in what I liked, and that is the references to historical events, like some things like Diligiwa or the tattoo that she had on her wrist. The journalist had on her wrist was, I think it was 4/6/94. That's the date that Kudirat Abiola was killed. You know, there are a lot of interesting things like that I thought were cool. All right, what I didn't like. This is the problem that I have with a lot of Nigerian Nollywood action movies. Mrs. C compared the shootout at the beginning to the shootout at the end of Brotherhood, and I agree. But I think this movie did it better because the way it was cut and the sound design of it gave more chaos to it. But I think it suffered from, ultimately, it had the same problem that the shootout in Brotherhood and the action scenes in Gangs of Lagos and all of these movies have. And that is they feel very toothless in a way. They go through the motions of being action scenes, but there's no weight to them because there's never a feeling of real consequence. And this is a criticism that I really feel bad about giving because I know how expensive and difficult and sometimes dangerous staging these kinds of scenes can be, especially now in the post-Alec Baldwin era. But, you see all these movies where people have all these big guns and they're shooting and discharging large amounts of ammunition, and nothing seems to get hit. You don't see any ricochets off any surface or anything. Like in Brotherhood, they were on the mainland bridge with cars bumper to bumper, and they're shooting and they're shooting and they're shooting, and it seems like not a single car gets hit by any bullet. Over here, they tried a little bit more to do that. There's one scene where you can see, there are a couple of shots where you can see some bullet holes on a window, on a car window. It looks as if the bullet holes were drawn on. I'm not sure, but nothing is getting hit. And it makes it look as if it's just a bunch of kids playing police and thief. There's no real sense of danger in it to me. Like, I can understand why somebody would watch it and feel impressed that they are staging this big spectacle, but there's just nothing to it, and a lot of the scenes don't even make sense to me. I mean, the kidnapping scene, I think there was one particular shot where you can see the kidnappers on the right side of an SUV, and immediately the cops jump in on the left side of the SUV and start shooting straight ahead from west to east. Not a single kidnapper gets hit with all these automatic weapons going off 2 feet away from them. But instead, we cut to shots of some of the kidnappers ducking down. We don't see. We see them ducking down from shots that seem to be coming from the north towards the south. So a lot of the action staging just didn't make sense to me. The explosions, any of that stuff. I mean, the gunshots, all those scenes where you see in the north, where you see these people firing their guns in the air. I know we've all seen real life scenes where militants do stuff like that, shoot some guns in the air. But when I'm looking at these people, dozens of people, all with their automatic weapons shooting into the air, I just couldn't help but think, do these people know that when you shoot bullets into the air, they actually come back down with considerable force? you know. And I'm not asking for realism, you know. I mean, like, action scenes don't have to be realistic. I mean, 98% of action scenes in any movie are not realistic. But I'm just asking for a sense of stakes, a sense of consequence, a sense that these gunshots actually mean something. And for that reason, as an action movie, it just didn't move me. Um, the characterization, I think, was also very shallow. A few people, I think it's Ursher and some other people, have said that they didn't feel anything from it. And I think it's because the characters just weren't really developed, you know. Amodudu talked about the whole thing that with the deacons, he would have liked to see the church members at his house mourning and the like. I do think that his life as a deacon wasn't really drawn out. I didn't really feel that he was devoted to the church in any way. It just seemed as if it was something he was just doing, maybe as a cover. You know, it didn't. I didn't see any real conflict in him. Well, you know, you have that one shot, which I think might be the most famous shot in the movie at this point, where he's staring at the cross on the steeple of the church, and that suggested to me that there would be some sort of conflict, some sort of inner conflict, some sort of psychological and spiritual conflict that would explore themes of religion, of retribution, of faith, of forgiveness, of revenge. You know, when he talks about how he feels that God took away his son. These are questions. Even when you have the conversation that he was having with his son, where he's telling his son not to be mad at God because of his mother and something like that, they're hinting that there's some sort of trauma in this family having something to do with the loss of his wife that, you know, would make his son be mad at God. But unless I'm mistaken, and I watched this movie twice, I don't think the wife is mentioned again throughout the rest of the movie, and we never find out what that was. So I think that all of these things would have been much more interesting to create characters that felt more fully rounded. The last thing I would say about it, I don't think this movie is fun to watch. That was my biggest problem. It's just not fun to watch, you know? There's no humor to it. And I know some people might say, well, it's a movie dealing with serious subjects. What do you want? Do you want to see Brother Shaggy in there as Paul Edima's funny gate man? No, not that. But even when you're dealing with, these movies that have serious subjects and a very stoic, serious protagonist, you do have other characters who give some lightness to it. You know, um, maybe you have flamboyant antagonists. Now, Denola Gray's character, for example, seemed to be something that could have functioned in that way, but he's killed in just a few minutes without us really seeing him do anything impressive. And he never even has a confrontation with the protagonist. So I thought that was a complete waste of that character.
Hmm.
And now that I mention it, rather, I don't think that we even got to see RMD do anything particularly badass. I mean, there's a lot of talk about how he's the most lethal man in Nigeria. I didn't see a lot that he did that was super impressive in that way. So a lot of it was carried by the dialogue and not so much by the action. But I mean, when I say it's not fun to watch, I mean, even when you're doing an action movie, it's supposed to, there's some things that's supposed to be pleasurable. It has to have some humor, some wit, some sexiness, some swag to it. But here everything is just so dreary and ominous. And the score, I won't even get into the score. A lot of people have said they liked it. I thought it
All
was
right.
really, really okay. I know I'm rambling. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Let me just round it up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to say is that it just wasn't fun to watch. Like, for an action movie, you do want to have some things that are just interesting to watch, you know, in cinematically. Either you have action sequences that are designed or photographed in an interesting way, or just a sense of style to the movie, a sense of there has to be a sense of playfulness to it that has to make it entertaining. And I don't think we had that. One last thing I want to say, but I'm going to save for pushback because I think that is something that might be discussed more. Whether or not this is actually a revenge film, I thought it was. I thought it should have been a revenge film. I can't tell the filmmakers what their intent should be, but I think they missed an opportunity by not making it a revenge movie. I think that the motivations became way too convoluted. It would have worked if they had just gone for simple revenge. But I'm sure we'll talk more about that later. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Uchenna. Much appreciated. I'm basically sign off on everything said. Yeah, more to add. Timmy, please. I think it's Timmy.
Mr. C, I've been raising my hand since.
Who? Sorry, there's a quick. We do first come, first serve.
Am I to go?
Yeah, Timmy, go on.
Okay, so the bads. First of all, I actually haven't finished this movie because I couldn't understand it. I lost interest in the third act. So maybe there are some things that I might say that might be wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but these are my thoughts. I mean, these are my bads. These are my bads. First of all, they used 1 million USD for this. I mean, I don't think there's any official announcement talking about the budget of the film, but I was seeing that they said they used 1 million USD for this. I guess maybe you could say the budget is justified with the guns and the explosions and the mini. But for a film that they say that they've been planning for quite a while, the plot wasn't given a well-planned film. So first of all, the sound of the baby crying in that opening scene, it was very annoying. Not because it's a baby that is crying, but it just sounded so fake. The music was horrible. The action scene was poorly shot. I couldn't see who was shooting who. It was just chaos left and right. Blah, blah, blah. Then, I don't know, after all their shootouts, I saw that in a shot where the police was coming, it was raining. It had already rained. And I was like, it was dry just a few seconds ago. Why am I seeing water on the ground? And I don't know, maybe there was some mishap that was going on when they were shooting that particular shot. But not only was that shot not important, but why was it raining? I couldn't get that. Another thing is Olumide Oworu and his Disney Channel-esque acting. I'm sorry, but I love this guy from what's it called, the Johnsons, but please, he can do better. I believe he can do better, but then again, I think he's venturing into politics now. So whatever he chooses to do, man, I don't know. Another thing is the father-son dynamic felt foreign to me. A lot of things felt foreign to me. Wow. I watched this film with a bunch of people, and a lot of them were complaining that the film didn't feel Nigerian, and that is so true. That is so true. First of all, that newscaster, that human being on the radio, good morning, Lagos, blah 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 blah. Who talks like that? Who talks like that in Nigeria?
That's Sandra. That's our Sandra. She's a real life. That's
how radio people talk in Nigeria. There's a radio broadcaster accent in Nigeria, and we always talk about why they don't sound Nigerian, but that's how they do sound.
Interesting. Okay. Another thing was God, where was I? Oh yeah. In the prison, that scene where they took Polydima to the no, not Polydima, where they were releasing, is it Dipo's son from the prison, and you could hear that that prison beep sound that you usually hear from American movies. And I was like, is it in this type of prison that you're hearing buzzer sounds? Bang, bang. Sorry, but honestly, that sounded very funny to me. And in general, the sound effects in this film were, oh well. Another thing is, I know I said there were nice shots in this film, but for quite a lot of them, I feel like what they wanted to achieve with the shots didn't give. Another thing was the description that they were giving. He's a male, dark, tall, with dreadlock hair. How many people in Lagos are male, dark, tall with dreadlocked hair. You want to give a description of a suspect, and you decided to give the most generic, most I don't know. Another thing is, I know this film wanted to do social commentary and all, but like, was it Uchenna that said? No, was it Rotimi? I don't know. Someone just made mention of how just give me a man revenging his son's death or something, and I would have completely be satisfied. Like, if this film was like 90 minutes long and that was all they did, I think I would have been very satisfied. But then you came in and you said somebody is doing drugs. Then from drugs it went to corruption with oil and gas. It just became very complicated, and I was trying to wrap my head around a lot of things, and I was like, bruh. Another thing is,
it's time. Do you want to pause? We can come back to you.
It's time. Oh,
yes.
Interesting. Okay, I'll come back.
Right. Okay. A lot of people coming back. Okay. All right. It is what it is. I think on next, Induka. Induka, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I really don't my thoughts. I don't like the dialogue. It sounds very unnatural and funny. Funny is not a bad thing, sir, but sometimes it's very expository and it kind of insults your intelligence because that radio broadcaster.
Have you changed the way you're speaking? Because you're less clear now. Are you on the road? Are you using headphones? You're less clearer than you were before.
Okay, take off my ears.
Thank you.
Is this better?
Yeah. Yes, that is. It's better. Thanks.
Okay, so, yeah, I was saying that the dialogue sounded unnatural and corny, but corny is not a bad thing, Sha. But it wasn't a bad thing. Just packed up. The corniness just packed up, so that the point that she said, "I am a woman," when he said, "I know all the men in Kaduna," I was like, I rolled my eyes because I've heard that line in 500 Hollywood films. It was expository and kind of insults your intelligence because the radio broadcaster woman explains that thing 4 times. We get it. The police are about to shoot somebody. Once she mentioned it the first time, that was where my mind went to, and I'm sure that's where the mind of everybody watching the film went to. Why do it 4 times? There's hardly any action. It's not an action film to me. The big showdown of the film is a car chase in a village, and it was just around a roundabout. And it ends at a dead end, unsatisfactory. There's no shootout at the end. Like, that's just where it ends. Nothing else. RMD, all the training he did and he fights in the dark, I didn't see any of that fight. I don't know. My TV is not very clear, so probably that's added to it. So I didn't see any of the fights. And he's supposed to be the most dangerous man in West Africa. The characters are plenty. Many of them are useless and ineffectual. Case in point, Denola Gray. I really liked Denola Gray's the character, and I felt like if it had been explored more, it would have been a more fun character. Just imagine, for example, is just for a spectacle case where Denola Gray's character and RMD fight. We would have memes of it. Everybody would be videoing it. We would have memes of that fight everywhere. But they killed that opportunity for God knows what. Now, this is more a serious take now. The story feels like it's using the SARS killing of that boy as just a plot device. And for a film that wants to seem like it is very profound, this is very weird. You get? What happens to Deepa's son, who was exchanged with that boy? That was the whole reason RMD went to this whole revenge thing, to capture Deepa's son. And, like, he's not seen at the end. What happened? So that boy was killed for, like, it was just plot device. Okay, what do we do so that RMD can go and start fighting, which he ends up not fighting? Like, at the end, you just get something about military men and bloody civilians and drugs. I don't care for that. It means nothing to me. That I have no stake in that. You get? How is everyone connected to this one general? Like, even the random journalist babe is also connected, man. Like, why? And I don't care for the journalist either. She feels like a caricature of a journalist from an Obodo Igbo film. You get? They are both archetypes. Denola Gray's character is the silent, macho, assassin archetype, and This babe is the annoying journalist archetype. They are archetypes. None of these characters are developed. They are just archetypes doing archetype things, and it's boring. What exactly is the Black Book? He mentions is the place he wrote down what the man did. So why didn't this man just destroy it? Like, what is it? And how come it's what solves the case at the end? Like, what is it? What did RMD write in it? It makes no sense. A simple revenge film would have banged. This was, I don't know, like, this was not well written, and for all the production value, I feel sad that it did not match up to it. So those are all my thoughts. I wrote them down so I could be succinct.
Thank you. Wait, I see an echo. Hang on. That's all right. I'm going to mute everybody. My favorite thing. Okay. I'll mute. Okay. All right. Okay. I think it might have been in the castle. All right. Thanks, Indicada. I appreciate that. And I think, Ayinka, do you want to give us
Yes.
something?
I will say my bad because I think that people are using their expectations to judge the
I know
movie.
I started this, but let's
I
just.
know. I'm just going to say my bad. Okay. My bad. Okay. First, I'm going to start with the nitpicky to kind of go to those ones that I feel like I have a dispute on the artistic direction that it shows, that I feel for myself would have been better from me watching it. Nitpicky. What does it mean that Santa Claus? Why is a Nigerian guy going like and his son Santa Claus? That feels a little bit off. That just feels a little bit off. Like the dialogue feels a little unnatural there. There's also the scene where we first see Adeoye meet Paul Edima. I don't know why she's taking the picture of Paul Edima. I think that introduction could have been better written, right? They could have, the first time we said we could have gotten like she's already working on discovering this like gang set, and because she actually does say scratch it. No. She actually does say the reason why she knows that the son is innocent, because she said, I talked to the taxi driver and I talked to the people. So she actually has, yeah, it makes sense. Okay, it makes sense. Sorry. Reading the dialogue, yes, it makes sense. But what doesn't make sense is her taking a picture of Paul. Makes no sense. Another thing that doesn't make no sense, that is very bad for her to have done, was literally to take the what's the camera thing? The SD card, and then not make copies of it, but like that XD card thing, I don't know what the plotting for that, to how to resolve that, just to resolve that, to have that cancelled. And if the writer originally realized that, okay, this thing, they should just have removed that entire plot right there. What she does by stealing that thing is ridiculous as a journalist. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely foolish. That's an issue. I would have expected that, what's it called? Also, she goes into another person's home, who just walks into their house. But I can accept that it's a movie. People don't hack normally in movies, and people do walk into homes anyhow sometimes. But like, okay, yeah, that XD card was one I just couldn't necessarily take. I don't understand that at all. I think they wanted to use it to show that Sisi Laiwo is like doing that stuff, but I still think it was a stupid thing for a journalist to have done, right? Without making, and then I guess she trusted that one. I get what they were going at, but they should have also made Paul actually save a copy of that, because then all his work that we see him do the something is for naught. but I'm using the content of the something to judge the movie. So I have an issue with that. What other thing? Like the film, I don't have an issue with the film because the fumigation does come back because they mentioned, okay, he's doing a fumigation, and they mentioned last time 24 years ago they were also doing a fumigation. So it's something that this group does. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. The bigger thing is that, as somebody mentioned, you expect that the movie starts off. I think people are like, because it's talking about, okay, God has punished me for my sins, this. So you expect more intrapersonal psychological like sins for Paul Dima, questioning himself and relating more with his faith. But you don't get that much of that. It becomes more of a popcorn action, and that's a choice, an artistic choice that somebody can make. Maybe that's what they wanted to make in the very first something. And I can get why people were expecting that it should lead to that, but it didn't lead to that type of way. I don't think it's bad. I just think it was a different choice. I would have definitely I personally, it would be my preference for it to be um more about the questioning and like more about like a more philosophical thought type of drama type of thing that is more of like, how do we contact with like what's it called, to be atoning for sin, redemption, and all those things and all that. But if the writer knows that he cannot do that as well, and then he's like, I'm going to make this more of a poppy something, it's okay. It's cool. I rather people do their strengths more than they don't do their strengths. So um
Okay.
so that's okay. So that's my like things that I think is what, and I also like they.
Okay.
And one last thing. One last thing. One last thing. I promise one last thing. One last thing.
Just
Another
make it
like
very quick. Okay.
it's the change. Okay. And it's like for a good stretch of something, the man does not talk about his son. And I feel like they should have brought up the son a little bit more through, like, is it the third act or something, or the second act? And halfway through the second act, it doesn't mention his son. So I feel like that should have been brought up a little more. Those are my kind of bads.
All right.
And
Thanks.
they are obviously technical bads, but people have mentioned some of that. But like, that's it.
All right. Thanks, Anka. I think it's Paraventure.
Sorry, Mr. C. I have a meeting by 8.
Oh,
Can I
okay.
can I jump the queue to say
All
my
right.
mind and jump to my meeting? I'm so sorry.
No worries. Okay.
I know this is the corrupt thing that
Thank you for waiting. It's just one person.
So I can speak.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. In as much as everybody has spoken, and I'm not here to even push back or whatever, but I kind of agree with Oyinda. I think she's the one that said that. I think there are a lot of people's expectations that have been thrown on this movie, and some of the takes I'm hearing, again, it's your personal opinion. I have no issues with it, but it's a bit too far-fetched. I think that everybody is saying, they wish it was a revenge movie. It would have been so westernized if it was a revenge movie. It would have just been another John Wick. But again, that's really not my issue. Again, everything I'm saying is my opinion. I have nothing to do with the film. I still love it. It's still my second best film of the year. I'm just saying this as a disclaimer. I think my issue with the film is motivations and stakes. There weren't enough motivations and stakes for some of the decisions that the characters took. I feel like for some of the things that were happening in the film, they didn't do well to set up. Whenever there was a payoff, they didn't do great by setting it up. And let me first start with Victoria, who's the journalist. Now, at the end of the film, we do realize that Polydima murdered her mom, and he he was taking care of her and, whatnot, taking her through school and whatever. The way that information was given to us was just in slash dialogue slash backstory. But I didn't feel anything for any of them because they didn't do well to set that up in the beginning. After all, she went looking for him. In fact, the way it was set up in the first act was like, look, you're just a nosy reporter. I don't want to have anything to do with you. And so the scene where they were in the church and she was, saying, oh, get away from me. I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. It didn't make any sense to me because I'm like, now you can't find out for the first place. Why are you shouting? Jonathan, like, if you really feel so bad about him, go to the police and say, oh, I found the person that killed my mother. I wish they had put breadcrumbs in the beginning to show that, Paul either had something to do with her, maybe not as much, but just put those breadcrumbs. There was a breadcrumb in the house where, there were some notes or clippings of her and her work. But again, I kept wondering, like, okay, what is that? I didn't think that was the best explanation. Like, the way the explanation happened, I didn't think it was the best. Again, I didn't feel anything, in that moment. Secondly, I didn't feel anything when they shot her adopted father. I don't even know if he died because they showed a scene where he was, he had blood on his hands and whatever. And then there was this emotional scene where she was like, how could you kept this murder and whatever. And I think that was a pivotal moment for her character. But I was only introduced to this guy somewhere in the second act, and he didn't mean anything to me. So when he was shot and they did that close up, I didn't feel anything. I'm like, oh yeah, the guy is dead, moving on. Thirdly, I didn't feel anything when Paul lost his son. Two scenes didn't do justice to show the relationship with him and his son. I didn't get it. Like, I mean, yeah, he died. I understood the character's pain, but I didn't feel anything. I couldn't empathize with the character, just like every other person said. I feel like there were people in the film who didn't need to be there. For instance, Daniel Gray. I liked that he was there. I liked what his character, like somebody said, I liked what his character portrayed, but he was useless in the film. I didn't think there was no need for him to be there. They could have cut him out. I understand how hard it would have been to cut him out, but then that's it. Also, Ikechukwu's character, he served no purpose in the film. Nothing at all, even until his death. There was no point. And I think the last problem I had was the resolution of the film. And so to get to that resolution, I didn't think... So this film started with John wanting to get the body of his son. And it's not a revenge story. I just need my son to be innocent and I'm going to destroy anything that gets in my way. Again, because of the fact they didn't set up any relationship outside of his son, I didn't understand how it eventually turns to him going to save the girl. They did explain it in the church, but again, there wasn't enough motivation for you to go into the lion's den in quotes and almost get yourself killed for this chick. Again, I did understand the backstory, but the motivations weren't good enough. Secondly, the way the film was resolved. Now, in the end sequence, these guys were driving in this roundabout way, trying to upload this video of the bad guy, Alex Usifo, shooting military people. You could have been in your house, you could have uploaded that video, you wouldn't have needed to go to Kaduna. I didn't understand why you needed to go to Kaduna to upload the video and so that the military will come. And that whole thing about the military coming, I feel like it was just, let's just add this thing in there just to resolve this matter. It wasn't, there was no crescendo, like, bad guy fighting the other bad guy, this big fight, who's going to win. No, it was just, again,
Hello?
I'm here, can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah. So those are my issues. Again, I still feel, the last thing I'll say is, I still feel like the pacing was good, the writing was somewhat okay, but the setups and the motivations were not good enough. The last thing I'll say is a lot of people complained about people not getting hits when they were shooting. Go and watch John Wick. How many times did he fight all those people and he did not die? Let's be calm. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, James.
Also, just a side note, if you've ever been around me when a John Wick conversation is going, best believe I complain about all of that.
She doesn't know. What does she know?
Can I say real quick?
I know nonsense when I see it.
All right.
Can I say
Okay.
real quick? Can I just respond to that real quick? I'm sorry.
Paraventure, I think.
I think someone wanted to speak. I'm
Oh,
okay with waiting.
sorry, Ethan, I don't hear you. So whenever you speak, I don't hear you. But it is Paraventure's turn. Is it quick? If it's quick, please
very quick,
go on.
I just want to respond to James real quickly. When I talked about the bullets not hitting, I'm not talking about hitting the people. Obviously, you can't just kill all the characters in one sweep. But I'm talking about hitting anything. Like when you're in your setting, your environment is a bunch of cars that are all packed bumper to bumper, and people are unloading automatic weapons. And you don't see any ricochets off the cars. You don't see any tires getting blown out. You don't see glass shattering. People are ducking. They seem to be ducking from bullets, but you don't see the bullets hitting anything. So that's what I mean. In John Wick, you do see the bullets hit stuff. I'm not talking about hitting the characters, but I mean just hitting the environment, so we know there is a real bullet and there's a real danger from that bullet making impact. That's all.
All right, thanks. Pichana. Paraventure, do you?
Yes. I think I'll start with the Danola character. I'm in two minds. I thought, for one, if you're going to make an action film and a purely action film, then you should make it as preposterous as possible. That's how the best action films, especially the modern ones like John Wick, they're more style than substance. The more you try and just pass over the substance and then just pile on the style, all the shooting, all the quick edits. Half the time I can't comprehend what they're doing, but I know something's going on. There's a lot of shooting, people are dying, and a lot of adrenaline getting pumped everywhere. And I thought this film just, tried to be something that it is very hard to achieve, where, an action film has style and has substance at the same time. I think one of the few ones I can remember achieving that balance is the first Rambo film. Vietnam War veteran comes back home and, there's a lot of killing, but yet it makes a statement, a political statement. Those are one of the few occasions it's done well. But if you want to make an action film now, it's more the extinction, is it extraction or extinction, the vehicle for one of that Australian guy. And I thought, if they had just stuck to it, and I think someone alluded to it, make a revenge film, kill people, it would make, it would dull the criticism about story development and all that, because it would be like, well, that wasn't the point. But the fact that they started referring to NSARS in some instances, the whole dreadlock thing, you start, okay, maybe I need to take it seriously. And then when you take it seriously, you find out, well, there's not much there is there. It's a bit of puffery. And it's a problem I had with the film I was referring to earlier was Up North. Up North it started as a comedy and then started trying to make commentary on girl education. And I thought, don't do that. Just stick to Banky W trying to make a fool of himself. Here, it should have just been shoot everyone dies, everyone gets shot, as many people get. It's that would have served it a lot better, I thought. Then back to Daniel Gray, I thought, it was one of the more preposterous elements, but it just didn't fit. This was a movie about old military men settling scores to an extent, and then you bring this kind of the character reminded me of, was it No Country for Old Men in some kind of way, or from The Sting, one lady that was there and was just an incongruous assassin. And it just didn't fit with all the rest of the baddies or the villains that the film had set us up with. And I think it's a generic critique. It's like, just make an action film. Don't try and make commentary or statements. Make it as preposterous. Cheesy lines like, share the groundnuts. Lots more of that. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Paraventure. I think you struggled with the kind of tone of whether it was being a cheesy action film. I think somebody else had said this, or it's a very serious. I think I also had issues with this. Okay. Mildred, do you want to give us either?
Yeah, so every time I come here, I just want to learn, and I think lots of filmmakers should come here and listen, but we don't. Nollywood filmmakers, because we think everybody that's talking about our film hates us. And what I want to talk about is what I've learned today. Is first of all knowing what your movie is about, and advertising. It has to be about it. That's the first thing, knowing that log line and sticking to it, even when you're advertising. So you can't go telling people it's something else and then they go watch it. I'm getting it. That's one of the things I've learned from this session. 2, this is a first-time filmmaker, and so he suffers what a lot of first-time filmmakers suffer, which is having a lot to say, and you just want to say everything in that one film. It happens to all of us, not when you've not figured out how to stay within your genre, knowing the spine of your film and sticking with it. It happens to a lot of us. We just keep throwing everything at the kitchen sink in our first film because we think that's how it's supposed to be done. So as a filmmaker, if there are filmmakers here, that's something you should learn from listening today and also from watching this film. Thirdly, story development. I mean, if you're going to have $1 million to make a film, come on. You got to spend a whole lot there. And it's not just about your own people reading the story. It's also about having other experts read it and point things out to you. So, for example, a few things that have been pointed out here today are very poignant. And when you have $1 million, you should have already heard it. This shouldn't be the first time you hear those things. You see what I'm saying? When you have that kind of money to make a film, there should have been a few, maybe 5, 10, 15 people who would have read it and pointed out these things before we come to be talking about them today, because those are good points that have been made. There are some points today that have been made that I'm like, well, no, it doesn't make sense. That's in fact, that was the most, when I first started watching it, the broadcaster's voice was the most Lagos thing about it. I loved it because it just said, "Oh, this is Nigeria, and this is," and then somebody else is saying it's not. Those little things, I really don't care. It happens, and I also believe that we don't have to be realistic all the way. Do you understand? But as long as you can bring us into the world, and that's what everybody is complaining about, is setting up. You can't just have 2 scenes with. I love that. What the father and son did. They were in the pool, in the water, right? And they came out, but just 2 scenes, and then he's killed. And I still try to tell my people that it's about this filmmaking we do is about emotions. What do you want us to feel when we watch your film? So when I watched it and he's killed, I didn't even really feel for his father. What I felt was answers, like I felt like, oh my God, this is happening to other Nigerians. That's what I felt there, because there was no time spent. At least spend a little time showing me who this man is now, which means I should have seen his church. I should have seen his son a little bit more, so that when that boy is killed, because he's the reason why all this is happening, right? I can feel it. I didn't really feel that. But what I give to this film is ambition. You can tell that the filmmaker had ambition, and it's something for that. The the cinematic, the cinematographer did a fantastic job. But story is still always, people can hate you can have terrible cinematography, all these other things. If the story is fantastic, people will be happy about it. And that's what I feel sad about, that, a lot of money was spent on this film and you can see it, but the plot, the story is just not, just didn't do it for me. And there were, let me tell you guys, one thing I remember when I first wrote my script, and then I gave it to these two people to talk about. They felt that they had to come and sit with me because they knew I'll be devastated, right? Because they've been in the business for a long time. They sat with me and they said, "There's too many characters in your film. There's like 15 people that should be only one person." And that's what I feel about this film, is like there's so many characters that could have been rolled up in one or two people and it would have been so much better, So we keep trying. I mean, it's not bad. Do you understand? It's for a first time, he did well. He did better than some people that I know have done 15 films and 20 films. So I give him that, and as we speak about it, let's also remember that it's a first-time feature, So that's all I wanted to put out. And thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mildred. Always appreciate your voice on this. Mrs. C, we'll read out some of the tweets. Sorry, there's a lot of tweets coming on. We have to sort out through what's just conversation and what is something somebody might like to be read on the space. But Mrs. C, go on. Don't worry, we're going to do our one because we're also part of Film Club, and then we'll go for the second round for seconds, Vanessa.
Okay. So yeah, I think.
Let me time you.
Okay, take time. So I'm going to agree with quite a lot of what Mildred just said. There were a number of characters that felt extraneous. They were. I saw them as there just to be there. And the most obvious of them is Denola Gray's character, which I thought it's nice to have a fashionable, sexy assassin, but to what end, right? To get shot in a stairwell by a nobody. That was an odd choice. I think also, so I said I liked the way the story moved for a while, right? And then it took weird turns. So it's like a lot of people have talked about it being a revenge, the problem with it not being a revenge fantasy, not being straightforward. And here's what happens is there's only so much we can care about, right? There's only so much you've given us to care about. You start us off on this path with his son, and people can work with that, right? People can work with, we're trying to clear your son's name, get your son's body. That's enough of a mission, right? And it felt like the people behind this film didn't have enough faith in the strength of that mission to carry the film from beginning to end and keep people's interest from beginning to end. Because the addition of this journalist takes the story in quite a whole other direction. I think someone's mentioned we don't hear about his son for quite a good chunk of the film. And it feels like his son is supposed to be the instigating incident. His son is the one driving. His desire to clear his son's name, bury his son, is supposed to be driving this film. And then we forget about that and we give him fresh motivation, right? Partway through the film. Fresh motivation, a fresh driver, a new purpose, right? To keep this girl safe. While this other part is left unresolved, forgotten, in limbo, and it's somebody we don't get to care about. So eventually you reveal to us that, oh, there's reason to care about her, right? He killed her mother and he's looked after her. But every interaction you've given me between this man and this journalist, it's like a fly following him around that, there's no relationship development between two of them that should make me care about switching the story to his desire to keep her safe. It lost people, right? And then we had the third act cause. The story had taken a different direction, right? And then we have all these big bombastic things going on, so many explosions. We have this girl group, girls get it done, girl, but I love it as much as the next person, but it did really feel out of left field as well. Like I felt like I had lost something, but no, I watched it twice. I didn't miss anything. This just happened. Also, I have to say this will be a nitpick territory, but like I can't remember her, but the model like lady with the bone straight and the shorts and the gun, so out of place. So out of place with the rest of the group. So visible. You're walking around in a place with a bunch of hijabi women, right? Everyone around you seems to... How are you supposed to be inconspicuous? Yeah. So anyway, that was just on my nitpicky. Yeah. But I think the story really lost me. I didn't appreciate so much of the acting. I really like Ade. I really think she's a good actor. And I bought almost nothing she said in this film. Almost nothing she said I bought. I thought there was a lot of you speak, now I speak, you speak, now I speak. It didn't feel like these people became the characters. It was Ade giving me lines, right? It was people speaking lines, not acting, not being these people. So I think one of the biggest examples for me that I saw where they were really doing call and response was when she was in her editor's office and the editor smashed the SD card. She paused. She let the editor finish smashing it. Then she jumps up and screams, "What are you doing?" That "what are you doing" reaction she gave, that's an immediate reaction. But she waited for her turn to finish, then did her... And it's like, okay, so this is not a reaction. This is not a genuine reaction, right? You're acting. I can see that you're acting, and it's taking me out of it for the most part. And I didn't enjoy a lot of the dialogue as well. So much exposition. Exposition has a place, but sorry, I still missed time. All right. But yeah, that's my bad.
Okay, all right. A lot was said. All right, just some of mine. I think I can start this with saying Ade's character went to the Literary School of Journalism, it seems, where everybody's just bad at their jobs, just doing really rash things. It didn't have any consequences, but it seemed weird that she was rushing into the father of the kidnapper's house, without any real care. Anyway, that's that. I'm just gonna rattle off some things here. I think a lot of old people in this film had to do action, which just wasn't convincing. Sam Dede is not particular. Yeah, there are a lot of them. Sam Dede is one of the people that stood out to me. RMD does okay for the most part, but like it's very easy to see sometimes where it's like, oh no, I think these people need a rest. We could have used young people to do some of these things, but it is what it is. I think the directing and editing will probably get better because I think he tried to take on way much more than he could. I think he tried to direct this film in an advanced way that a lot of Nollywood films aren't used to doing. Mr. C talked about the action-reaction thing. I don't think they're interacting with themselves in that scene. I think that's one thing where he probably shot one and then shot the other part. And I was like, yeah, don't worry, we've got it in my mind. We'll stitch it together. But because of, where in Nollywood normally we'll probably just shoot the whole scene normally and just, like as it is and stitch it together. But like, he's trying to do something a little bit more advanced and it just doesn't work for the most part because so many good actors in this film are delivering lines so poorly that it just shouts to me that it's a director issue. And also there's some specific things that it seems like he's asking them to do. I remember when Ade's character is taking a picture of RMD, she puts out her phone like almost like she's taking almost like it's like a big camera to take the. I'm like, why why? Like nobody does this. But like it's for us, I guess. Another thing I remember, even though Mr. C liked RMD whilst he was shouting and crying, that part to grab the blood and the sand together. There was a part where he does it, and then he's almost showing it to the camera, like, "Look what I've done." And I know that's a direct. That's an ask from the director, and it just looked corny and out of place because I'm like, "Who are you doing this to?" One of the biggest things about this, and people have talked about how it felt misleading and completely felt like it was a revenge film. It's not. The reason why I'm saying it's not a revenge film is because this film goes out of its way to tell you it's not a revenge film. There's a part where RMD says he doesn't want to do that. He just wants to play his mate. But this film is sometimes wearing the clothes of a revenge film. There's I think it was Patrick Doyle is basically doing a part from John Wick where we've realized that it's John Wick's character you've killed, and he's just listing out all of Paul Edima's things that he has done. He's listing them out like he's the Black Book himself. To be honest, like and that's just very much reminiscent to the way the Baba Yaga scene where there's like, this guy, he can do this, he can do that, except less poetic and just worse. But one of the biggest problems with the film is that it chooses to do this plot twist in the middle where we find out that RMD's and Ade's characters are, she's the daughter of the person he killed, and he's taken her on, blah, blah, blah. The problem is that you're supposed to feel for the son anyway. That's the thing it's set up. It's set up this, but it's trying to tell you that, oh no, he has been invested in this girl the whole time. Now, that makes sense. And maybe if we knew that from the beginning, that's something that we would be emotionally attached to. But it has sacrificed this for a twist, which, to be honest, falls flat for me. Because, again, what you've done is you've made that earlier part of it just, why are we watching RMD with this journalist babe? Who cares? And then the plot twist happens. Anyway, that's part one of my thing. So people who want to go second round, this is where we go. Vanessa, you can.
Sir, you're so trigger happy with the mute button. Okay. This film should have been called Mewan Shele. 10 is happening. Because 10 was really happening in this film. It got to a point I was having whiplash. Like, we started off with a clear direction. And I'm sorry whether or not this film tried to tell us it wasn't a revenge film. And to be honest, I didn't even think it was a revenge film as much as a seeking justice film. Because the truth is, you say, okay, I just want my son's body. Let me say I'm ignoring the log line. First 20 minutes, you're telling me you want to clear your son's name and prove that he wasn't the kidnapper, but also get his body to bury because apparently they don't release the bodies of criminals. That was his initial goal, right? But he doesn't do anything to actually do that. And it's like, while that's happening, we never really sort out the issue with Madame Professor's kidnapped husband and killed baby. But whether they killed the man too, I don't even know. But like, we never actually really do anything with that. Mind you, this is apparently someone who is high up in government, because that was the reason why her baby and her husband were kidnapped in the first place, so that Dikbo could take over the position. The man that was calling the general rank Adede or something. That was the man who was apparently supposed to be taking over this Madame Professor's position in government. So this is somebody who is apparently important in government. And it just seemed like no one actually really cared about that happening. And it's this insistence on using newspapers. And I'm bringing it back to the journalist angle because it's really upsetting. So your initial article doesn't make it to front page. Why are you not on social media? It's like this film completely negates the use of social media and the existence of the interwebs completely negates the importance of the interwebs. Because like, what? How isn't this trending? How is a young man killed? His father insisting that he's innocent. A reporter who's apparently believing that, and nothing about it is trending on social media. No one's talking about it. So are we saying in this world, the interwebs don't exist? If that's the case, fine. But then this plot just moves around with no clear direction. Like, it's like things happen because the plot wants it to happen. It's so contrived, not because it follows anything from what was previously done. Like, nothing actually follows through. There's no continuity. And it's not about continuity in placement of shots and stuff. It's continuity in the story. Nothing actually follows through from anything that was shown to us in the beginning. Like, you don't expect me to. I literally asked while I was watching this, I was like, when did this film stop being about RMD's son and about Adelaoye's character? Because I missed when we had that switch. What about anything that was set up to us in the first 20-ish minutes of this film has led us to this point where the film is now wholly about Adelaoye? Mind you, this film is called The Black Book, a book that we wasn't even put in our consciousness for the first two acts of the film, until when we had a random flashback when finally, for the sake of plot twist and revelations, which is Nollywood's favorite device in filmmaking, is revelations. Like, we don't want stuff to be revealed to us. Just tell us a straightforward story. But for the sake of revelations, when this guy is telling Adelaoye he killed her mother and like how he escaped and blah blah blah, that's the first mention of the Black Book. I'm like, okay, so what? And then conveniently, this Black Book is kept in a safe. They steal this safe. They don't try to open the safe. It's not until the final scene that Adelaoye finally opens the safe. For what? For what? Like, genuinely throughout this film, I was like, why? These were my questions. Why? Because at the end, honestly, the final scene that was supposed to be this big thing, and I saw a tweet. I can't remember, I think it was Shock NG. I'm going to be calling names. Shock NG said, oh, Editi beat the Nollywood third act curse. Lies from the devil. This film was cursed 300 times by the third act. It didn't beat the allegations that Nollywood doesn't know how to do a third act. Because what? Really? We go to Kaduna, great. We drive around the roundabout, great. The hijabi women toting guns, fantastic. Honestly, Share the Granules wasn't even my favorite line. It was, Abi were me, put it down. I'm sorry, that was my favorite line from Shafi Bello. The delivery on that was great. But like, all of that was happening and Polydima is in cuffs. Polydima is in cuffs. And we get the scene with Adelaoye shakily shooting him in the barely grazing him in the arm, and what? What? And then the guys with whatever pulling back because a video was sent, a video that could have been sent from Polydima's shack in Lagos in the first 20 minutes of the film. Like, there was, mind you, if we're saying his skills aren't in his actions and fighting skills and all of that because he's an assassin, I don't know, and is in his planning and his strategizing. Where is the planning and the strategizing? Because the sending of the video should have been planned. In bullet point one in the action plan. Reveal these people first. If the main point of this film was to clear your son's name, is to reveal that there are larger forces in play and your son is merely a pawn. Like, you have to give us, like, take us from place to place. You can't just, it felt very choppy. And then the final scene is the general sitting in his wheelchair, overlooking people running away from him. And here comes Polydima sitting with him. And then we have this weird dialogue and this weird speech about civilians and people being sheep and how there has to be a hierarchy. Hierarchy of what? This man needed a bullet in his head 30 minutes ago. Where is Dipo? How is... where is Dipo's son? This is the son who apparently your son was killed in replacement for. Where is he? What was done to him? Why? He just disappeared? So your son was killed in replacement for someone else's son, and you're not bringing that son out and hanging him out to dry and saying, this is who my son took the brunt of whatever for? Like, none of it was following through. I'm so sorry. I was actually genuinely, I actually had high hopes for this. I really wanted this to be Nollywood's first good film of the year. I was deep in this, and the story let it down. It's a pretty film. It's nice to look at. It's really beautiful to look at, but the story just wasn't storying. Nothing was following through. Like the police commissioner, what was Ireti Doyle's point in this? Like, what was the point of Madam Police Commissioner yelling at a scene and how can this man kill my officers? Get everyone on case. Wait, and then he shows up in a house and nothing. What? Why? Like, it started so well and then it just went completely derailed. Completely derailed. It's like, what is going on? And then we're still introducing characters in the third act. Who is Tanko? Who is Tanko? Why should I care who Tanko is? Why are you still introducing new characters in the third act? Why am I meeting people when the film's about to be done? What? Are we serious? I'm so sorry. Nollywood has this thing where we're trying to fit 3 films in one. And everyone's trying to make political commentary. Everyone's trying to say something on the current state of the nation. And it's like, I know someone said it being a revenge film would have made it feel more Hollywood than ever. But no. A father seeking justice for his child is a universally accepted whatever. It strikes a chord universally. And I feel like I've said this 100 times. The only way we can actually export anything, if Nollywood is viewing itself as exports, is telling universally relatable stories. And there's nothing more relatable than a father brokenhearted by the death of his son and seeking justice. It is universally relatable, and it can still be grounded in the Nigerian reality without losing anything that makes it authentically Nigerian, while still appealing to an international audience. We don't have to do all the razzmatazz.
Mm.
Time's up. I'm done. I'm sorry, man.
Thank you, Osha. I'm next.
Please. Are you next?
Before Elizabeth goes, I just want to give Shego a chance because Shego hasn't been able to say anything. Shego.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Quick one. So I mean, Mildred, Mrs. C, and even Vanessa has said almost everything that I wanted to point out. And then for me, you know me, I'm more always on the technical side of it. So I think I'll just point some of those things out. But before saying that, by the risk of sounding like a broken record, you know, I've always said it that most of our Nollywood things we are focused on the buzz rather than the art because I mean the buzz sells quicker. So I think that's an issue we'll continue to have, and we need to fix that. That's one. Secondly, like I always tell my producer friends or filmmaker friends, the person that designed the National Theatre and other iconic buildings, those were not their first gigs. So I don't know whether it's a pride issue, but I feel that filmmakers should make small projects, make short things so that you can mitigate you can know what the issues are. And because like with this film now, it's beautiful, it's a spectacle, which yes, every film should be a spectacle, but there are other technical aspects of it that if you do not know how to handle it on a smaller scale. On a large scale, as large as this film is, there's no way these things would get away from you. And I will point these things out because a lot of it is pretty much technical and then continuity issues. Uchenna had already spoken about the shootout on the bridge or wherever that place was. The shootout was just very non-cohesive. It was just all over the place. And what really and I accepted it because I know that, okay, this is what Nollywood really looks like. We've not mastered that whole thing where you're sitting down and training individual characters and even the extras as to how to act in certain scenes. But what really threw me off was the baby. That baby's cot or whatever they were tossing it around like an empty 20-liter keg. That really put me off. Meanwhile, the baby was crying as we're tossing this thing all around. And there was even a point where I think the girl was trying to escape in between a napep and stuff, and then the thing turned, which any baby inside that thing would have fallen out. That really stood out to me.
I think the opening scene, which was also a flashback where they killed Adela's mom, where he put the gun on her head and pulled the cork back. The trigger was already depressed before he shot. That one was very, very stark. I don't understand how they missed that. The trigger was already pulled before the gun was even fired at all. I don't know how they missed that. Our assassin Denola Gray with the candy colored helmet, which he's supposed to be very inconspicuous. I don't know how that worked. He didn't buckle his helmet before he got on his bike. That scene will stand out to anybody that is a biker or any motorcyclist watching this film. These little details, they seem like, and I don't know how we don't fix all these things in edit. The part where he got into Big Daddy's for Big Daddy's operation, as large as that operation is, as that operation has lasted for so long, how he got in was just really ridiculous. I don't even understand how they said that part, but those details too were quite off. Continuity from when he went in to do the whole slam the police guy's head on the desk, which yes was very spectacular. But from there to where they took him all the way down the passage, I don't even know how he made it through that passage to even get into that office in the first place. But where they were taking him away, that whole part was very, very shoddy. And from there to where he was locked up was I don't understand how that was done, but that was very, very shoddy. The part where he was taking out the SARS guys, where he went to pick them up, where the extras there were it was a mess. The I think the red light district thing where it was eventually we found out that he was on that set the whole thing up and girls. He came to pick up the head of the SACS unit, that whole place, and all of a sudden we saw all the SACS unit members tied up. I don't understand how that happened, but the continuity there was just it was pretty messed up. With the what's it called? There's one other part that really stood out to me. Even the Denola Gray character in itself, truth be told, even though they killed it off, I don't know why they killed him off. Maybe because he's not your standard professional actor, or maybe they didn't want to give him too much screen time so that certain things should not be obvious. But a character like Denola Gray in this particular project is very pivotal, and it's if you look at every other film or Hollywood trope that we are even trying to copy. That Daniela Grace character should have even lasted up until the third act, where he would have been killed off by some very, very weird accident or mistake or something. But for somebody that is very portrayed as the most dangerous, somebody that doesn't feel, that was very weak and really hurts the film for me in itself. The part where Adela shot him RMD on the arm or whatever, I didn't see anything. I didn't see no bandages, nothing, no scar, no blood from his shirt or whatever. I don't even know what happened there. And then there was I think a lot of people have mentioned some of the, and then the safe where she turned the safe had a knob, had a dial, and also had a keypad. I don't even understand what that was about. So apart from that, there are quite a number of other production design mishaps that I have that I saw that really really made the watching the film uncomfortable for me. But I feel like we need to address these things, or it's going to be a very big issue moving forward. Because on this particular kind of film, kudos to everybody that worked on it, and it feels like we are always attacking, but it's easy to say this and in the same breath we are watching Marvel and we are trashing DC movies, and then we are here trying to point out these things, and it seems like yeah, we are rubbishing people's good work. Everybody did well. I'm sure the lighting guys did their best, the production guys did their best, but the example I always give people is that as big as a Beyonce concert, if she sings off key, that show is trash. Yes, the lighting guys did their best. The instrumentalists brought their A game. The special effects people, the camera people, everybody. But if she sings off key on some parts of it, the show is a mess. The show is trash. That's what it will be. That's what people will say, and that is not on the team that worked on it. So I hope that we will begin to fix. I hope people will begin to listen to all these little things, and we begin to fix these things from how do I put it? A very um,
Just fix
I
the
think
things.
we need to fix stuff. We need to start small. We need to go back and start small. Let us start. There's nothing wrong with releasing a 10-minute short film and give us action packed stuff, story, deliver the story, and then expand from there. I think
that's pretty much what I wanted to say on this particular film.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, Shagun. Worth mentioning. Editi has made one short films, Fishburne, but yes, I think what you said is that just practice with short films and then launch further. Elizabeth is going next. Just want to say that because I'm one of the people who has praised the look of this film, so it is worth me saying that I was very disappointed because I was like saying like this was going to be, I was going to be comparing this with the Human Affair from the beginning of the thing with just production looks wise, not the story, because I'll get to some of that. But it was just the look of it that it looked like a proper film. It looked really good, but they started tinting the sky blue, and I can't believe I was seeing that in this film. It's such a bad. It's such a. I can't believe I saw that in this film. It's poor. It wasn't just once as well, and it wasn't. I think I've seen some of this done decently okay. It's not something I love, but like the way it was done in this was also bad. It feels like the person that worked on it on this film worked on it and then gave it to somebody else, and somebody else just like, this guy's not blue looking nice. Let me just tint it blue. That was weird to look at. And again, taking something that looks like a really good, well-made production to just no. Okay, all right. Sorry, Elizabeth, please.
Into my time. Okay.
Okay.
I have a few things to say actually.
Amodudu.
I'm the next after Vanessa.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Let me just say what I'm saying and leave, please. I have something to do. So, sorry, I have something else to do. Okay. What I noticed something that the dread guy, the guy that they were looking for, the guy is Deepa's son. Deepa is the politician, if I'm right. So, I was just wondering that why is the politician's son at the crime scene, or why is he amongst those who went to kidnap the professor's husband? I was wondering because I don't think that is something that would happen in Nigeria. Maybe in local politics, like in rural politics, that could happen. But for somewhere as big as Lagos, the son of a politician would go, be on the streets to kidnap. So I don't know why no one would recognize him. I don't know. Maybe I'm the one thinking too much about that. And I kind of think Mama Taiwo Ajayi performance. I think I want to see her in other roles. I want her to play other roles like a village grandmother kind of thing, because she always she acts the same. Her performance is one tone kind of, like the way she move, fix her face, use her mouth, kind of. It's always the same. So I think I'm tired of seeing her like that. And what did they want from the professor? Actually, I know they like she's trying to like uncover some things from them, but why don't they kill her instead of killing her husband and her daughter? Like, would that stop anything? Why didn't they go straight to kill her? Like, why the husband and her child? So it doesn't really make any sense, because she would even that would motivate her, give her more motivation to go after them, kind of. So I was like, okay, why waste time? Why don't you kill the woman instead? So they after the scene where they killed Polydima's son. So the police, after like they claimed the guy had exchanged shots with the SARS men, and kind of I was like, why did they leave his body? Why leave his body at the crime scene? I was kind of wondering why they had to go for that and leave his body. And I've never seen police officers kill anyone and they just leave the body, and maybe they are. I don't know. I don't know why they had to do that, because I think they didn't pay attention to detail in this movie. Like someone said, they paid attention to details. They really didn't. because there are some things that, when the journalist saw her pictures in Paul Dima's house, I wondered why she never asked him, like, okay, why do you have my pictures? And then she now went to Reverend Father to go and, take uh take pictures of some documents. I don't know what that was, but I think normally she could have just asked him, okay, why do you have my pictures? But he was following him up and down. I don't know. So I think that has to do with the writing, and even when they were writing, they didn't pay attention to details. Kind of. What is okay about the third act? Ah, God, third act was very confusing. Very confusing. I was wondering if the guys, the local guys, maybe they knew Polydima before. That was why they were shooting in the air. They were shooting the air when he came. I was wondering if they, because who are they? Why are they happy when they saw him? It was kind of confusing, because even when they kidnapped, when the bad guys had the journalist, and they told him to come to Kaduna, I knew something was like, okay, this is not adding up. Why did they have to leave Lagos to go to Kaduna because of what? What? So I think they wanted to just, make sure we have the whole the whole driving stunts, the whole blast. Maybe Lagos was not convenient for them actually, but I think it didn't work. The gliding from that point A to point B, from Lagos to Kaduna, didn't work for me. It was just kind of weird. I think that's all I have to say about.
All right. All right, thanks, Ahmad. I do have to say the part of the shoot, the whole shooting thing. I don't even understand what the point of the choose one or the other, this or that. I don't know what the point of any of that is. Like you're right, Ahmad was right in the sense that like all it should have done would have been ginger this babe to like come after them or like lean in. It didn't make any sense from a tactical point of view. It didn't make any sense from the movie's point of view. I think I can't remember. How can I forget? It was Rotimi who likes the killing dead baby, killing baby thing. But yes, we thought that this was going to make him. Oh, he's going to be evil. You're setting him up to be this monster. Didn't do anything else with that. Nothing. He doesn't even. I mean, he gets his ass handed to him, but at the end, in the most, every time he shows up, he loses. Every time he shows up at Polo's house, and he loses, and he chases this woman, and he loses. He's a loser. All he did was shoot a baby. What a loser! What a loser! All the person he killed was a defenseless baby. Anyway, but yeah, no, I hear you. I'm what to do. Elizabeth will have me if I don't call her next. But I see the hands. At this point, we're doing hands because we've done first round.
I am going next to. It's a school night, guys.
I've called you now. I've called you.
Okay. So let's get into the writing and the characterization, which is actually the meat of this story for me. And quite a couple of people have been right. This movie is a cross between John Wick and Equalizer, which personally for me, I think is a bad idea to pick like the first act, which is like the inciting incident for John Wick, and then couple it with whatever Denzel was doing in Equalizer, which I actually really also think that Equalizer is a bad movie, but that's another story for another day. But where it did excel in the way Denzel's character Robert was sort of like an enigma, which was what they were going for with Polydima and the old John Wick thing, but still it took that old John Wick inciting incident, which, like everybody has said, is the decision by the writers. Like, personally, I think that you shouldn't, if you're going to have an inciting incident, like the death of somebody's child, and then we now find out that it's the death of the most dangerous person in West Africa, in quote, I'm putting this in quote, dangerous person in West Africa, and then it's meandered into something of a black book, I think it is a bad decision. It probably makes sense, when somebody thought it up, but it does nothing because it quickly changed into something that could not be sustained. And I will explain. Now, everyone has been talking about the, not feeling sorry, especially from my end, not feeling for any of the set characters, including the person whose child was kidnapped. And I think it's also bad to focus on how the person who was kidnapped so much in the beginning, to the extent where we're talking about how this person did IVF, to make us feel sorry. It's actually useless, because if that character was supposed to be a plot device, you want to go in quick, neat, and discard, right? There was no need for sermonizing the entire situation, trying to go all, what's her name, the NAFDAC lady, or the way they kidnap Ngozi Okonjo's mother. Father, it's unnecessary. If it was supposed to be a plot device where they killed Polydima's son, pick it, use it, quickly discard, right? But we do know that there is something which is supposed to be a catalyst to the inciting incident. We don't need any of the sermonizing, no reason why we should know our life story, breaking down in tears, shaking, giving us Oscar-worthy. You want to go in quickly, and you could have spent so much of the time showing us all these things happening to her to establish a relationship between father and son, as many people have mentioned. You need an emotional tie between subjects, establishing relationship through genuine connection rather than abstract conversation. They swam in the sea, and then they had this conversation about God and Santa Claus, which made me roll my eyes. I was like, what the? I didn't feel anything, because it was such an inorganic, stilted conversation there between father and son. You want me to fully buy into this inciting incident? I should be shaking. And you want to raise the stake, right? So that we get this most dangerous person in West Africa out of this man who is just living by the fishing village and is a deacon in one rundown church, right? But you go in, you meander into abstract God and Santa Claus in such a, and the way it was delivered, like it was a stage and such cliche stilted manner. And this is not the first time Nollywood will handle filial relationship in stupid conversation. This also happened in Father and Son conversation in Collision Course. It was actually very stupid too. And that is the problem with this film. This movie is trying to be something. Oh, my child has found me. And this, okay, let me carry you, please. I have a call.
What does she think about the Black thing? What do you think about it?
Oh God, school night. So that's the problem with this film, because this film is trying to solve a lot of problems that it could do without. And what are the stakes? The stakes changed twice, and then it wasn't maintained. So we went in with the son's death. It's not revenge. So we introduced the black book, right, to raise another stake. But there was nothing that showed that, and the movie became drab and tedious. Like, the choices of your characters are hinged on the consequences thereafter. And after which, this is what should raise the stakes and maintain it. So you're linking this old journalist to Polydima. Please, Nollywood, I will need us to pick a couple of struggles and stick to it. You don't need to take on too much. Journalist character does not have to be there. It did not have to be there. And if it was there, you don't have to establish some killed the mother, and now I'm taking care of her. And then you put some random priest who ended up that. It was so many things that you could have not, that we don't need, in such a way that you could have, focused on the action. Let us see when he went to look for the Saxmen. Not that we just found that he has tied the Saxmen up. The whole thing that Denzel was doing in Equalizer, that was making him this dangerous person. But you kept telling us this is the most dangerous person in West Africa. And then look at that caricature where Patrick Doyle was doing that whole, you 18 cool. Oh my God. It was so cringe. I said, Jesus. It was bad. And because of that, like, you see that this character was not fully fleshed out, right? And then it was not developed. And because a lot of things are not addressed behind the motivation of all the things, so he started telling a lot of these things through exposition. Oh my God, we were told everything, guys. I mean, it's normal to say, oh, the most dangerous person in West Africa, fine. You've used it to introduce Polydima to us. But it didn't stop there. The Black Book, Big Daddy, Flashback, this one, Deepo General, weapon for the general, everything was explained. You were just moving the plot through people coming into the scene and giving us, so this is the backstory. And then exit stage left, somebody is back again. This is the backstory. So it was all the exposition that we were using. Look, guys, I watched this movie for 10 hours, and I'm not joking. Like, I watch a bit, I go do something else with my life. Come back, watch a bit, go do something, because there was nothing to sustain me. So if you're not going to be, if action movie is not going to be well written, at least the least you can do is to entertain me. A la Equalizer. I do understand everything that is happening. Like, you know, they've given us the reason why Robert is trying to help this guy. They established a relationship, which was even deep, but he really liked talking to her. And then he felt something for her in the sense that he needed to protect her. And then they were unfolding his backstory as we move. We could have had that, but here things were happening just because we needed to move the queue. So we've written it down, let this happen. And again, I feel like because we were taking borrowing tropes and thinking up stories, nothing here happened organically. Plus the dialogue, we needed to hold on to quotable quotes, memorable quotes. Nothing was organic, not the dialogue, not the writing. Things were being picked, borrowed. And also because the writing also got in the way of the directing. Again, maybe this is because the director is maybe first time, second time directing, right? So a lot of the things that goes into the dialogue are things that are not necessary, but it should be the director giving us a visual representation of what things should be. So there are a lot of decisions that I felt like the writing got in the way of the directing. And again, that's another thing that I think Nollywood directors / writers, especially people who take on the two roles at the same time, so you're directing what you've written, it's very easy to forget that you're directing and you're writing. So it feels like you're writing something for a play, drama. So again, not all dialogue has to be there. This is where you come in. Film is not just about what comes out. You can have a film that they say nothing. And that's the idea behind film, because it's visual representation of art. We should see things enough to feel it. It might not. So now we are feeling nothing for any of your characters. There are no stakes for us. You're not maintaining any of the stakes. And again, you raise a stake and then you raise another stake, and then the momentum is not maintained. So they are not taking time. Okay, you need to get to the black book. Why? Oh, I need to save her. Why? So like Vanessa mentioned, a lot of whys were just popping up. So personally for me, the Black Book is not a bad movie. It is not good either. And this is what makes this a disappointing film. Thank you. Good night.
All right. Thanks, Elizabeth. All right. Inkans, we're going to finish the bad off with you. And then if anybody has pushback, we'll go into that. And then we'll do some.
Oh, this, I guess I'm just going to, I was going to do a pushback, but there is one more bad that I kind of, I've forgotten what the bad is.
Okay, we can go into...
pushback, yeah.
We can go to pushback. Just before we go into pushback, let me just read some tweets that have coming. Shoemaker Blackbird says, honestly, didn't feel anything for Bimbo. Okay, didn't think about that. Sorry. Obina says, it's so easy to pontificate about this being a revenge piece, which is essentially route one. What's really outstanding is the absolute neglect for what the film is really about. No, I think actually... I think the point is that I think the film tries to say too many things at the same time. I think a lot of people have said that. Scarecrow says, I think Paul Edimba's character, aside from being a dangerous assassin, I think his other strength that made in better light in his ability to plan and strategize effectively. All right, that sounds like a good... I thought this was an interesting comment from Winnie Odogu. I think it will also be worthy to note that there are no actual writers on the film. It was written by 2 directors and edited by another director. Directors are usually excited to do something big and great. Wait, what's her name? The other writer, she not a writer? Is she? Oh wait, hang on. Maybe she directs as well. Okay, I can't fact check that at this point, but that's an interesting comment.
She directed that our film of going to America and ending up in a serial killer's house now.
Huh?
Love
Life. No, she directed them.
No. Wait, no. Is that okay? I'm going to. Don't worry. I'll check in the.
What's her name? No, that's Papa Ocean. Papa Ocean is different from.
Oh yeah. But Bookie, I think maybe is it Glamour Girls? It's one of the ones that it's
Yes, it is
And didn't
Glamour
she direct some
Girls.
things for Ndani
That
as
explains
well?
it.
didn't she
Didn't
direct
she
what?
direct some things for Ndani as well? I think she directed like the
Probably.
last couple seasons of Skinny Girl in Transit. I think so. I don't remember.
Some Miss C can fact check us there. Um, uh, okay, so let's do pushback, things that we might disagree with. Is there anything anybody disagrees with? Can you see thing?
Yeah, I've forgotten the bad, so I'm just going to say the pushback. And also, can I put my summary? Because I'm so sorry. I can't. My grandmother.
Sure.
I have responsibilities too. So I apologize. So my the Daniela Gray character, right? Somebody said he didn't push the plot along. Just going based on the movie and on the context of the movie, it does push the plot along because they needed a reason to get the police, all of the police force, against this dangerous guy because now they know this is the dangerous guy. But the chief above the sax person is not in their pocket, right? She needs actual proof, and so he's also wants to order a fumigation. A fumigation that is something that they do before because we know this through the flashback that showed that Polydima was doing fumigation, and that's how we got to the reporter, right? And Daniel Lagre kills a bunch of people that leads to Polydima making that woman, Ireti Doyle's character, having like a police force, a bigger police force, come after this guy as the most wanted man in prison and all the media and everything. If that doesn't happen, we don't get to the part where we don't get to the part where Polydima now completely changes, not just wanting what's it called, the dead body, his son's dead body. Now he wants to bring down the general and that's how we get to the black book. I think now this is the something. I think I've often said this. The plot, the idea of rising plot, this, that, the rising plot, action, something, as that's the standard way of telling a story. It's not true. It's just that it's something that became very popular in movies because of the studio system in America that started from the 1930s, like 1920s, 1910s, 1920s to like even if you watch a 1920 movie, it doesn't really do that stuff. But it became just the studio system way to really tell stories and everything. And America makes movies popular around the world. I keep saying it because that's how it happened. And so a typical movie now, and then also all the screenwriting, all the people that are talking about movies, they went to American movie schools, or the critics have failed American movie make. I don't want to say failed, but like all those things, because an American film schools, when they started having film schools, was going to teach you how to work within the film studio system, right? And so now we think that that's how all stories or most movies should be. But I don't think so. I would prefer that because I'm used to it. But like, I think it's okay for a movie to just not do that. Stories are never like that. Or like stories don't have the same structure. They don't do that and they drop things and it's okay. I think it's okay. You can say like whether you don't like it or not. That's good. And Daniel Lagre's character, and I think one of the reasons why like Daniel Lagre's character is I'm talking about in movies, but is very confusing to people because we expect that type of assassin person to face off the guy. And when he dies, we think he's a useless character. But what his action in the movie was kind of, he does move the plot forward. I also was expecting him to there was going to be a meet up. When that didn't happen, I was like, okay. Okay, I also think that they should have not used the aesthetic of that type of. I thought it was a bad decision for them to use the aesthetic of that type of assassin, because people watching it will expect that assassin to go in against Paul, and nothing happens. Nothing happens. That doesn't happen that way. People are definitely not going to like that. And that's just my thing. That's just what I that's my pushback. My ultimate pushback is like, I get everybody's expectations. Maybe we should just use the context of the movie to like judge the movie.
All right.
But now I have to use my summary because I kind of have to leave. As I always say, movies are meant to entertain. This movie entertained. If you don't like it, give it 30 minutes. Actually, the 30 minutes was really, really good. So this movie might actually have been trapped and get you to watch more than 30 minutes. Sometimes it happens. Use 30 minutes or more than 30 minutes in this case. You can switch it. Just switch it to another movie. That's just it. That's just it. It was nice. It was a good one. And that's it. Sorry. Good night. Good evening to people in America, and enjoy the rest of your day. Sorry. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Inka. Bye-bye. All right. Okay. Yeah, I still think was touched on that. I think the film does wear the clothes of a revenge story, and yeah. Anyway, all right. So I think next was Rotimi. Rotimi, what pushback you had?
I don't. Okay, I think I still wanted to do. Anyhow, let me just go. I don't know. I can't take it under anything, any section you want to count for. I have this weird thing I do that I'm looking at. When I look at the actions of somebody, I think the actions of some people in Nollywood indicates to me more about their intentions more than the actual movies that they are making. And I'm saying this in a, okay, let's just look, somebody, Elizabeth has been breaking down that we should appreciate for the logic within, we should not our expectation of the movie, not within, we should not follow our expectations. Okay, my problem is that the marketing of this film made it look like a revenge movie. I didn't market the film for me. It was how it was marketed to me. So now we are doing this we're exposing some high-end ex-general government stuff, which now leads me into that. If we are doing this expose, at the end of the day, we are going to look for this black book that will expose this government people or this ex-general. Then the story is not the story. The story is Adelawe's story. Can you see what is happening to these things? I just kind of feel like when you see the outcome, it feels like, okay, we want to tell this story, how we're going to expose this government general stuff. We're going to throw the delegate WhatsApp there. We're going to throw drug dealing there. We're going to throw the black book. We're going to throw these things there. We're going to put the date of Kudwa on this tattoo. Okay, you throw all these things there. Which story are we to? But we want to market this thing. Okay, RMD is a face that we can use to market this thing. Oh, but what's my RMD? Oh, they kill his son. Oh, then from there, RMD forgets about his son, finds the people that actually killed his son, hang them on a pole, and slaps a placard on them and calls them murderers. Then proceeds to I'm going to expose these people. And we're going to find the black book that has all the hidden secrets that will expose and brings people down. And we now do this special operation with the hijab commandos. I look, I'm sorry. I'm like, sometimes I think what's funny about all these spaces and everything, I feel like it's like admitting, let's come together. We've been scammed. They told us that there was one movie we're coming to watch. Let's come and discuss how we're scammed. But we come next week and we'll do the scam again. Which is like, throw these things inside, throw explosion, throw hijab, they'll come and watch it. And you market it to people, and people subscribe to the Netflix, and Netflix people are subscribing and people are watching. This is why sometimes I'm not a fan of Dragon. I'm not even personal. I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, I know I watch movies all the time. I also work in production, but I'm like, this is not what I would. If I went to cinema and I want to watch this thing, I will question, say, God, why did I take my time to leave my house to spend 10K and watch this thing? Not because they didn't spend money on the production. I'm saying do I get my satisfaction from watching this thing? And you market, and there's a lot of marketing. The people in the business of Nollywood are in this marketing, and they'll tell me metrics, and they'll tell me who is doing how many well in countries. And I'm looking at them, I'm like, do you see what you guys are putting together? But no, we've got people to watch. So since we've got people to watch, we're happy. So and we repeat, means repeat. You people come and do space again and everything. And that's the part that kind of gets to me. Like in between, it's not about insulting the people. It's not even about these people should not make a business out of making movies. I'm like, the exchange is that you entertain me, tell me an intriguing story, and balance, and story has logic. There's story logic. Look, I'm sorry. Let's go back to one thing now. When people do this John Wick thing, sorry, it's my time. It's my time.
It's sounding like it's just sounding like a mixture of bad or a summary. And I want to just be a bit more precise. Let's get through Pushback. If you want to say this in the summary, if you had something to address with something somebody has previously said, that's what we want to talk about now.
Okay, somebody said that we're missing something, that we don't get the point of the story, and I was like, I don't know what the story is about. What is it? Is it the revenge of Paul Dima, the scary guy, or is it about exposing these governments and generals? Those two things, I believe they could coexist, but they didn't coexist. So that's just my final, just my summary and everything. You are putting there's too many ingredients in this one pot. That's all. Choose one. Cook one meal. That's all. Cook either the revenge story or cook the generals. Choose one. That's all.
All right, thanks for it, me. Yeah, a common complaint is that there's too much ingredients inside this soup. All right, which one I think was the other person who raised his hand.
Okay.
Do you have a pushback?
I want to push back on something that James said. I don't want James to think that I'm fighting against him. This is the second time I'm pushing back against him.
I love you, bro. I love you, bro.
All right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. James said that making it a revenge story would have made it too westernized, and I understand the reason why he would think that it would feel too Hollywood, too John Wick, too Equalizer. But I think that I disagree, because there's something very universal about revenge stories. You know, you have revenge stories in China, in Japan, in Italy, going back to the Old Testament, an eye for an eye. There's something about that very primal idea of an eye for an eye kind of justice that just triggers something in the human, the lizard part of our brain. You know, that's why these, the Chinese movies were able to get so successful around the world, because they didn't have complex motives. It was as simple as, you killed my teacher and now I'm going to kill you. Or, these 5 men raped me and I'm going to hunt them down one by one and cut off their balls. So I think that making it a revenge story would have simplified the entry point into the narrative. And then as you build on it, you can start adding the other political layers to it. This is where I'm going to push back against, was it Paraventure, who said that they should have stayed away from all the political stuff and just made it a preposterous adventure story, a revenge story. And I don't think that those two things have to be mutually exclusive. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. You can have a preposterous revenge story that also has things to say. So, but I think the problem is that the motivations got a bit too abstract. It could have been, you killed my son, now I'm going to kill you. Instead, it is, you killed my son, but I believe that probably I deserve this because God is punishing me for all the people that I killed. So I don't want revenge. What I do want is my son's body and a tape recording of you confessing that you framed him. I mean, it's too abstract. They need to simplify that thing, I believe. But that is a question. I mean, but it does raise an interesting question in itself. The whole idea of God is punishing me for what I did. That is an interesting philosophical question to pursue that they ignored completely. I would have liked to see that, actually. I would have liked to see him questioning himself about, someone else said that Sam Dede's line was corny when he said, what about all the people's children you killed? I think that's a very interesting question, actually. He should ask himself that. And that would actually lead me to ask, why is it all of a sudden that he killed the journalist's daughter? He's killed so many other people. Why in that moment couldn't he have killed her? Why did that lead him to leave altogether? Is it all that time that he was killing people that he had no idea that these people had families. So I mean, I felt that that left something to be desired. But I think that they would have made things a lot easier if they had made it a revenge movie. The other thing I will say is that someone else talked about how the political subplots didn't work as well, and I think there's a reason for this. One reason is, of course, as was already mentioned, it seems a bit unrealistic to Nigerians to believe that exposing the wrongdoings of politicians somehow is going to bring them down. That suggests that there is a workable justice system that will punish these people if only we know about it. And that's not true. I mean, even within the story, it's not true. The story shows corruption on so many different levels. But I think that the problem that the story faced is that it fell prey to a trope that I've seen in a lot of recent Nollywood movies called that I call it the big man theory. The idea that corruption is usually situated in one person or maybe one handful of people, and if we can bring down that one cabal, everything's going to be good. But really, corruption is just systemic. And I think this movie did try to show that by showing there's corruption in the police, in the media, in the army, and everything else. But still, it came down to a feeling that if we can bring down the general, then everything is solved. And that just doesn't work, you know? And I'll admit that showing a systemic corruption is very hard to portray in film. The closest thing I've seen to it is The Wire, where they really explored corruption in the media, in the school system, in the police, and then the drug dealers. I think they did a good job there, but it's really hard to show. So I don't really blame this movie for not doing as well with showing that. Okay, I'm done.
All right. Thanks, Ishina. I think it was something, mainly something James said they were addressing. So I'll let him speak in a bit. But I think like to split the difference between what you guys are saying is that I think there's something where, because a lot of this film does feel Hollywood. Like I've mentioned a couple of things, like Patrick Doyle's monologue about all the things that Polo has done. It feels very much reminiscent of what of the Baba Yaga monologue of like when that guy is telling his son about all the you don't know who you messed with, John Wick, and starts listing off his things. There's already so much Hollywood in there that I think what James probably might be saying is that if you did go ahead to completely copy that genre of revenge, it would feel revenge. But yes, a lot of things would have to change for this to feel more Nigerian. Not just yes, we could do a revenge thing of somebody going a revenge story of a father who has lost a son. We can definitely do that, but it's not just this. It's not this film. It feels like you would have to change, or if it's this film, you would have to change a lot. But I'll let James also respond to that.
Thank you, Mr. C. And you are right. And to everyone again, Uchenna, don't worry. Like this is a diplomatic discourse, so it's fine. What I meant was exactly what Mr. C said, which is so the film, and again, I will say I love this film, and I'm saying this with a huge, so that I don't want anybody to say that I'm speaking ill of the film. I actually liked it. I think that the issue is the film feels quite westernized in itself. And what I was saying is that if they had gone for the revenge story, which is you killed my son, so I'm coming after you, it would have been a complete Western trope. Like everything would have just been, I would have just been like, oh my God, it would have just felt like Taken. I do like the fact that I'm not out for revenge. I just want my son's body, and I need you guys to confess and tell the world that my son didn't do it. And everybody keeps saying, oh, they don't know what the film was about. That's pretty much what the guy was saying. That's what he wanted. I just need you guys to go and confess that my son is not the one that did X, Y, Z. Finish. So I felt like if it was going to be a revenge story through and through, oh, you killed my son, so I'm coming after you with a black book, I would have just been like, no, it's another John Wick movie. and so I appreciate the fact that they went in that direction. Um, but I will push back on something that Oyinda said, and I think she's the one that said it when she said, "Oh, we don't have to follow, all the rules that it was." And this is talking about Denola Grace's character. And if we go by that logic, then we shouldn't be complaining about anything in the film. Like we should take it as is. But I'm not going with that logic. I'm saying that when you create a character or you write, there's a motivation for XYZ, it has to mean something in the entire film. And so the introduction of Denola's character was great for the film, but it really didn't do anything for the film. Like any other person could have done that thing, not him. Like they could have even rewritten. In fact, they could have written that entire plot out, made this guy go see Big Mama, whatever is her name, and somebody may have gotten a tip off, and they could have just come to raid the place. Like my point is, if he was off the story, it wouldn't have made a big it wouldn't have made a huge difference. I felt like he was just introduced. It was great to have. Like when they shot him, I was like, what? I paused the film. I was like, what the hell? Because I was expecting, like somebody said, like I was expecting a grand. I mean, this is like assassin versus assassin. Fumigation versus fumigation. So let's meet in the third act and let's trash it out. So I brush you and then I go after, Alex Yusufu's character. And then there were other little things that I will push back on. I watched the film twice. So you see that bridge sequence where a lot of people were saying that, they didn't say a lot of things ricocheting and whatnot. I think that people need to go back and watch the video. There were bullet holes. The bullets were ricocheting. In fact, the car that the guy who they kidnapped, the car he was in exploded after a while. And again, I think that some of our expectations is that once they pour fuel in the car, they shoot the car once, it will blow up. It doesn't even happen in real life. So I feel like some of us are putting our Hollywood experiences on this film, and I don't think that that's fair. I think that yes, there may have been little issues here and there, and I believe that some of the issues that even Uchenna was speaking about maybe was in the third act, especially when the guys were shooting the air and bullets were coming down. I know that that's a real thing, but in a lot of Hollywood movies, people are shooting anyhow, bullets are not touching anybody. And I'm not saying that it's an excuse. I'm saying that if they can get away with it, then we can just look over those kinds of things. And I'm not saying that they were there for us to look over. I think if we watch again, we will see some of those little things, here and there. I think that's it for me.
All right, thanks, James. The only thing I'd say to that is that you say people's expectations from Hollywood are tainting it, and I say the film doesn't do itself any favors by borrowing so much of their lingo and so much of the tropes and putting it in there. So, I think that's why we get that. We get people having this kind of expectations, but yeah. All right, we're going to rush through. Lohi, do you want to say, do you have your hand up? Do you have a pushback, Lohi?
Sorry. How do you put your hands up on this thing?
Oh, it's an emoji.
Oh.
Press the. There should be an emoji like a heart plus or something like that.
Right. All right.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Sorry, I'm just going to talk for a very short period. Firstly, I wanted to push back on what Oyinkan said. I think she said something about, following Hollywood and, because, Hollywood film schools and this is how it's supposed to be and all of that. I disagree. I think it also sort of it kind of erases other industries, like the Asian films that we see, the other European films that we see, it's not Hollywood that said that it should be a certain way. They're just setting tenets of, how films should be written and how films, we're not saying that, okay, it has to always be like that, but I disagree that it's, because, they said it's this way in America and that's why everybody else follows suit. I think it does a disservice to other industries who have been making films for, in fact, there's so many Asian, directors like, Akira Kurosawa and the rest that, actually presented certain things that, the Rashomon effect and, for example, to this American directors that they teach in American film schools. And I think, it's a bit to say that, okay, American said it's this way, so that's why this. So I disagree. Then just I don't know if anyone has said this because I wasn't on the space then, but I feel like in Nollywood we have a journalist detective issue. We've not had a very good or a very well written one. Like off the top of my head, I can think of the one in Oloture, I can think of the Blood Covenant, I can think of the blood, that's one of the Rubik's Cube or something like that. I can think of Living in Bondage, which I really love that film, the Living in Bondage, the sequel. But the journalist too, KOB the series, the one with the journalist that was doing Marriage Story and I didn't have a strong motivation. Like, I believe that, I don't know when it's going to end, but we have a detective / journalist problem in Nollywood. And everybody, I adopt a lot of what everybody else has said. Thank you. Bye.
All right, thanks, Lohi. Israel of something that I can't see. Of the House of L? Israel of the House of L, I think. Israel, are you there? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. I was going to respond to something Oyinkan mentioned about Daniel Aguirre's character and how
you are really coming for Incan today. Okay.
But there was something she said about I could be misquoting, but I think the general gist of what she said was like it's okay that his character just ended the way it did and didn't I think she was basically trying to say that he kind of pushed the story forward a bit. And I kind of disagree with that because I mean this is a movie where on 2 occasions they killed a police officer or police officers to frame the main character, so that they can get the police to chase him. And the first person to do that was Sam Dede's character when they killed the SACS officer that he captured. And to me, it didn't make sense why Daniel Aguirre's character came on like he was introduced, and then he did the same thing but just killed more people. And then we now see the commissioner being like, okay, yeah, we need to go after the guy. Shouldn't the first death of the officer have done that? Because I felt like doing that for Daniel Aguirre's character was just meant to make him look like a badass and not necessarily like push the story forward. So for me, that's where like I disagree with that being something okay that the movie should just have like run with it. I don't think that was necessary. I feel like maybe there could have been some way, I can't think of any way now, that you could have established that he's a badass character without doing something that was done before with the same motivation. So I think that's like the only pushback I had.
Okay, thanks, Israel. Paraventure, do you want to
Yes. I think my pushback is generic as per usual. I see folks, criticizing this film as if it's meant to be an Oscar contender, in my opinion. I mean, yes, I think the film doesn't do itself any favors and tries to be dramatic where it really didn't need to. But on the other hand, the action sequences and all the Big Daddy character or Denola the is it a feminist? I would call a feminist assassin. So just it's not that serious. I mean, it's not trying to be it's not trying to be what action film would I. It's not trying to be Godfather, or I don't think. Or if it is, then it's pretty much fooling itself. So on that basis, I'm not sure. Yeah, okay, the plot lines are a bit naff. If I care to think about it, and said, okay, I'm going to look beyond just looking at it as a popcorn movie and sitting down and just letting me pass the time, then yes, I would say, oh yeah, it's a bit convoluted. They started with him looking for his son, and then all of a sudden it morphed into a story about Adilawe, then that would be, yes, warranted. However, I don't think it was meant to be that kind of movie. Or it doesn't, or it shouldn't be portrayed as such. So I would think a bit of the critique is quite overwrought. I think, you know, I think you should just sit down, pass the time with it, and then move on. Cool.
That's funny. All right, thanks for adventure, but yeah, okay. I don't know. There's not much anyone can say to that. It's just like it just does feel like you're saying, "Oh, guys, are being a bit too harsh." And I will call you when they submit this film for Oscar.
If they do, then yes. If they do, then yes. I will say okay.
You don't remember when RMD is mixing blood and sand and like screaming and like showing us the blood and sand to the camera? You don't. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I think one of my things that the thing is that it's a little it's everywhere. It seems like a little bit of this, little bit of that. And I think that's one of the things. A few people have actually said is that the tone feels all over the place. It doesn't want to be a schlocky action hero movie. It wants to be this really serious thing that has something to say, and like it also wants to have like this really character driven stuff at points, and it wants to have it's doing a little bit of everything, and that's why it's not doing any of them particularly well. I think that's the main critique. So yeah. Anyway, that's what I'd say to that. All right. We'll be closing in a bit. All right, Vanessa, I see your hands up.
Two pushbacks, or maybe three. Onyikon's thing about Denola Gray's character moving the plot along. I'm sorry, I put my hand up the minute she said it. The thing about it being the reason why the police was going to come after him actually doesn't make any sense, because all that ended up leading to was Poledima showing up in the commissioner of police home and having this weird, unnecessary conversation with her. It did nothing at all, because very quickly the commissioner of police completely forgot about it and was already on Poledima's side. So how did it move the plot along? We could have very much done without Denola Gray's character. Also about Americans being the reason why certain things are done in film. Literature and written works of art have employed many devices which have then been interpreted into filmmaking. These things have existed for way long before Hollywood existed. To Paraventure saying our criticisms might be a little overwrought, I think the amount of criticisms are commensurate to $1 million, guys. You can't purport that a film. I'm sorry, you cannot purport that a film costs $1 million to make and not expect that the audience has a multitude of $1 million worth criticisms. Come on, like on Twitter pre the release of this film, we've gotten all the sub stories known to mankind as to all the many ways this film was close to not happening. You cannot expect the audience to not have a commensurate amount of criticism. Come on.
All right. Thanks, Vanessa. Elizabeth, did you want to give us your pushback, and we'll do summaries? I think. Elizabeth, are you there?
You don't sleep.
Is that it?
that is you.
Okay, so I think my pushback is okay. I don't have pushback. I wanted to please show. Sorry, Onikon does this thing all the time. Because it's actor film, she doesn't want us to criticize because like it's entertainment to remove your brain. Don't mind her. But seriously, story is universal. It has nothing to do with Hollywood. I mean, we've been telling stories as far back as Notice and the hair. So and all stories follow the same format. Even if it's not the same format, the point is your audience should not be lost. And at most, do your audience a service, entertain them. So into my own summary, overall, I think this is a really, it feels good, it looks good. This movie looks good. It It's good cinematography work, location, production, design, music. Sometimes, these things you're really happy to see them, but I'm actually very sad in the sense that it falls into the same pitfall, the same thing we've been saying for the past 2 years on this space now. Story-wise, the story is a letdown. I was bored, was tedious, was tired, but I was just plodding on because I had to finish it because of this film club. I would say that please, directors, when you're writing, I don't know why it's the Nollywood thing, if you're writing a story for the first time or whatever, I don't know, maybe give it to somebody who has a background in prose or somebody else. Or maybe somebody not, just give somebody else to read and maybe kind of help you tighten it. But I really think we need to work on our stories and because it's better of the entire film. Like I said previously, it's not a bad film, it's not a good film, it's either it's disappointing. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. I think I'm going to read a couple more. Oh, there's nothing to read. Okay. Just wait. I guess we are going to start doing summaries now. I'm going to start with Mr. Astrophage. I'm Astro Page.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, thank you for saying. Please, yeah, just give me your summary of what you told.
Yeah, thank you. First, I was going to say that I appreciate everyone who's giving feedback so far because, I've been losing my mind regarding this movie since last night, and it was just like therapeutic to listen to people speak about it. So coming into this movie, I'm not going to like rehash anything that anybody has said. I think pretty well done on every front there. But one of the primary conflicts that I had coming into this movie was that in terms of pure physical technique, this movie was pretty great. The cinematography was awesome, the sound and everything was great. But as usual, content as usual sat right in the middle. And and the pacing was really egregious. In fact, that's one of my greatest issues with the movie was that it had a lot of pacing problems. So it felt like a really slow movie, and yet it felt like not enough ground was covered in any specific direction. So it was long, but too short at the same time. So in terms of the summary, because I'm just going to go straight to a summary, I wanted to address the point where people said, you either make a revenge movie or you make a movie about or you make a political blockbuster, but not both of them. Well, I think in the hands of a more experienced writer, you could have both, and there's no reason why there should be any contradiction or conflict, or why it shouldn't be hard to tie or write a cohesive story with those two plot lines. So imagine a movie that we start with Polydema and his son, right? In this particular narrative, cut out the mother story about the mother dying. It's irrelevant to the plot. Just go straight to the point where you know that this boy is a young Gen Z person with fire in his veins, and he believes that the country is going to shit, as all young people believe. And he knows for a fact that his father used to be a militant, used to be a hired gun. He knows this fact, right? And he's really, really palpably disappointed in his father. And this is a conflict that Polydema has had to bother with since his kid knew when he was a teenager, right? And it was like, father, you are responsible for the state of the country today, and now you sit back, you're a coward, you're not my hero. Set up this tension between the boy and the father. And the father, being a religious man now, he's like, no, I left that life behind me. And so you have his son joining crusades against the government. He's always in protest and all of that. He's in direct opposition to his old man, and he's in direct opposition to the powers that be. And you set up the story, and the plot kicks off, right? Then we have like a really inciting incident, something very important where some papers are going to leak and somebody's going to be framed and everything. It's not even really that important. What the thing is, it could be like a regular Tuesday, but right now it's bungled because the kid dies, right? And the kid gets to die somewhere in the middle of the movie or close to the middle of the movie, not really in the beginning, because we have to set up the black book and a bunch of other things, right? So maybe the black book itself is on the verge of being revealed, and so the political class is getting agitated. And so then Polydema's son dies in protest or whatever the case may be. He dies, but the point is that it's a direct outcome of the father sitting in the sidelines when he could have joined his son, right, to protest the state of the government. So the father comes out of retirement, but not immediately. He actually goes into a deep depression. And that's why you introduce the journalist girl. Only she's not a journalist, because honestly, I don't think the journalism angle worked in any direction. She's something else, and I don't care what it is, but she's not a journalist. The reason why she can't be a journalist is that so many of the things that she did are illogical. So, for example, she works in a newspaper because she wants to get her story published, but she could publish that on social media. Like, in what world is the news like the final determinant of what gets published? She copies flash drives. She doesn't make a second copy; it gets destroyed. Like, we treat information like it is not it's not replicable in this world. Like, it's not easily disseminable in this world. It just doesn't work, right? It actually undercuts the story. So she can be a journalist. She has to be someone who has an emotional hook, but not a convenient hook where it's like, oh, you saved my mother. So why does he know everybody? Like, why does he have a personal relationship with everybody in this world, right? But it has to be somebody who helps him get out of depression and finally makes a stand to finally avenge his son. So he comes out of retirement, and then he's on a warpath with every single known accomplice in the past. So what we now find is that every single person he's interacting with used to be either a colleague or somebody who he granted political favors in the past. Just by the bloodshed that he committed, all of these people are like benefactors or beneficiaries of his own violence, right? And now he's cutting them down. He has no need for negotiation. This movie does not need to be preaching. This movie is just the pathetic story of a man who, one, made the powers that be, suffered for it, and now he's trying to make belated amends. That's it. That's all it has to be, right? Like, we can cut out a lot of fluff immediately from all of this, introducing characters in the fourth or the third act, right? You're bringing somebody called Tanko, you're introducing the women. There's a whole feminist angle that doesn't pay off because you don't set them up in the beginning. Like, if you want women to be a critical part of the story, then they should be a critical part of the story. You should start from the very way beginning, introduce the network, set up all of this. Because if we can't do it, then we shouldn't. Because otherwise, what we have then is a story that doesn't really, really, really feel like a story, right? It feels like a plot contrivance from point zero to the very end. It's like something should happen, so it happens, as opposed to something happens because something happens. Like, the plot itself is just it's an amalgamation of many, many random, unconnected things. And if you watch it, you will see. It's like, oh, this character has to be here, so he's here. So many times I ask myself, how did this character know to be here? So many times in this movie, man. And yeah, that's pretty much my summary, and I'm out of breath because I'm walking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Vanessa, do you want to give us your summary?
Sure. The Black Book is a beautiful film to look at, save for a couple places, but all in all, it was beautiful to look at. Sound was pretty good. Much of the score was nice as well. But it loses you past the 23rd, 25th minute mark, because it just divests itself into the weirdest directions. And then you're left wondering why you started watching this and what you started watching and if you're going crazy. If you can stay past that, give it a watch. I don't think you feel any payoff by the end of it for anything that you started with. Don't expect to feel anything for any of the characters, because I don't think they intended for us to feel anything for any of the characters. But you can watch it, because I feel like support Nollywood. I mean, that's why we do this anyway. Watch it, support Nollywood. It's not a bad film, not by any means and meaning of the word, but it's not a particularly good film either.
All right, thank you. We have heard from Elizabeth. I think Omodudu says is not here.
I'm here.
I thought you say you're not EU. Wanted to do and go. I do a summary.
This was sleeping. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm glad. I'm happy for the executive producers and the director of this movie. I think they'll make their money, actually. But like someone I know said, this director never do freedom. They open shop. I think he still needs a lot to learn about writing and some other things. Kind of, it's a good thing. It's a good attempt actually, and I'm glad we made this kind of movie. I love how they used exteriors and interiors, so it was beautiful to watch. Um, would I recommend this movie? Yeah, I'm going to recommend this movie, but not to people who would like to, people who are serious about movie. I would just recommend it to people who like YouTube movies, Nigerians who would like to see, an action movie made in Nigeria and kind of, but not to serious people. So it's okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Omodudu. I think Uchenna next.
Okay, in spite of all the criticisms,
Uchenna, give us your summary. Oh, yes.
Yeah. One thing I find very interesting about this movie, or rather about this discussion of the movie, is that almost 4 hours that we've been talking about this movie, in almost every case, when talking about the characters, almost every single person has called the main character Paul Edima and not RMD. And we've talked about Big Daddy and not Shafi Bello. That's something that you usually don't see when people discuss Nollywood movies. Usually when people are discussing Nollywood movies, they refer to the characters as Nancy and Kunle Remy and Funke and Bimbo and whatnot. So that really shows that the filmmakers here have been very successful in creating distinct characters. And I think that it would be worthwhile for them to consider bringing these characters for another movie. I mean, at the end of the movie, I found myself wondering if there's going to be a sequel. And I think they've created some strong. I mean, as much as I said the characterization was shallow, I think the characters themselves are somewhat strong, and I think they should really think about bringing those characters back.
All right, thank you. And I think it is Shagun.
Mr. C, I didn't give my pushback.
Sorry.
Add everything together.
Okay. Just like pushback, because it always seems like we keep making excuses with and that which takes me back to the shootout, and for me having to go back because somebody said we should go back and watch and see that the bullets hit here and there. For you to tell me to go back and watch it, that is where the problem is. So if you cannot, and which brings me back to something I forgot, most all the explosions were very embarrassing. They were, so for me, I'm always of the opinion that if you cannot execute it, do not execute it that way. There are so many ways you can depict certain things without actually doing, like the explosions. You would have done the explosion and everybody just fall and you see blacken face, and then your next shot can be a smoking vehicle. You don't need to show the actual explosion if it's too dangerous, because most of all these things that are done, if you can't do it in VFX and you want to do it in real life, if we don't have proper emergency services, it's going to be very hard to execute. So if you can't do it, don't do it. That is for me. And I think the last Mr. Astrophage said it as well. So for me, if you go on Netflix and just type in Harlan Coben, you'll see that writer has so many very, very nail biting projects that you will not see one gunshot, you will not see one explosion, but the film will hold your neck from start to finish. So that's what I feel we should start to, because of our society, because of our environment, because of the things that we lack, we need to start to find creative ways to depict certain things, because the average human is not stupid. If somebody is walking, if you are chasing somebody down the woods and the person just breaks into the express and climbs over the barricade, and then you are showing cars zooming back and forth, and then you just show the camera moving straight towards the person and lights shining through the person, you will know that a truck has hit the person without having to show a truck hitting a crash dummy or anything. So those are the things we need to start working on, creative ideas on depicting our stories without actually having to do the whole big Hollywood effects and all that. But in summary, I watched this film with I went into this film with a critic's eye because of this platform, not as because I mean I really watch films in general. I'm more of an animation guy and all that. And even if I'm watching a film, I'm watching it for technical these things. That's why I'll go and watch a Tom Cruise movie, and I'm watching for angles and all these things and how it can be done alternatively. So I went in to watch this film with a critic's eye. That is why I'm speaking about it. But would I recommend it? Yes, because the producers have, whether you like it or not, they put in a lot of work, and the work showed. So it's just some inadequacies and some things, some uh, attention to detail and all that that just made the whole thing come apart, which, as we all know, with a project of this size, you can't escape it. So I feel like I would recommend it. I can It's something I can watch again because yes, it's visually appealing, and I hope that the producers take feedback and build up because the next project after this, I expect them to actually put in a lot of all this feedback and just give us something a bit tighter. Yeah, that's it from my end.
All right, thanks, Shaga. Is Israel? I think you're the last one.
Yeah. Um, I think for me is the fact that it kind of felt like I watched two movies in one. Like the first half of the movie felt like, okay, there's a story about him finding justice for his son's death and then tarnishing the son's image. And then the later half of the movie was about the Black Book. And I think for me, I think once I noticed that, a whole lot of other issues just started becoming apparent to me. But even taking that aside, I think one thing I liked with this was the use of the locations and the settings. I liked how, I think someone already said that this was a very visually appealing movie. And I like that about it because I watched it twice in one day just because of how it looked. But I think for me, where it just falls short is the story. I think that was just my major gripe with it and the characters and their motivations for like doing certain things. But other than that, I think this is a movie I enjoyed. I can't really like rationalize why I enjoyed it, despite noticing all these flaws. But it's a movie I enjoyed, and it's honestly I'll probably watch it again, or maybe I'll recommend it to someone. So for me, it's an okay movie. Like it's a good movie. I won't say it's bad, but yeah, it's okay. It didn't do what I thought it was going to do, but it's not it's not a movie I hate. I can't say I hate the movie, but I like the movie, and that's even like despite its issues and everything. So yeah, that's it for me.
All right, thanks, Israel. Mrs. C.
Yeah, so I think like we said, it looks like a movie. It's actually, for the most part, quite a pretty movie to look at. Locations are great. And honestly, I think I can see where a lot of money went into, right? Into the location, into the cinematography, into the sound. And yeah, I wish there was a lot more time and maybe more money spent on the story and the scripting and just developing all of that. And I wish there was better direction for the actors. It still suffers from the third act curse that Nollywood has not broken free from. But honestly, it is far from our worst offering this year. It's been a hard year. So this is fun. This is fun.
Okay. Yeah, so from this looks like a movie. And if you're just paying attention technically, it sounds like a movie. But when you start actually listening to the words, trying to follow the plot, no, honestly, the plot actually works, and I think this is actually, yeah, the plot works to a point. There are some sequences, I guess, that don't quite make sense. But in terms of this happens, then this happens, then this happens, I think, like Mrs. C said, flowing from one to the other. A lot of what people have said today in terms of what they don't like is actually how it comes out in terms of satisfied expectations being set. I think there are a couple of things with motivations in there, as which I guess is what taking on. But that's unfortunately for us in Nollywood a step from what we usually do deal with. Usually we do deal with plots that don't actually, like actual real plot holes, things that don't make any sense. But for me, it just feels like we gave somebody who was not ready all of the resources to make a movie, because unfortunately it just so much inexperience shows in the making and the putting together of these pieces and the way it comes together. And when people are going, and not everyone's going to have the right or perfect words, but when people are going, it feels like 8 movies, and sometimes there are movies that feel like a mesh of different movies, and I love those movies, right? And sometimes it works. But what people, I think, for the most part, are saying is that a lot of things were put into this movie and it didn't work and it didn't mesh. And my biggest drawback from this movie is that it just feels a little sad, a little like it feels like he gave somebody who wasn't quite ready a lot of money. I think I've already said that. So yeah, it didn't work for me. But it is absolutely one of our best. It's actually probably in the upper half. No, it's definitely in the upper half of the Netflix originals we've made. Maybe the top 5 even. So that's just sad for us in the Nollywood scene as far as I'm concerned. But it is what it is. But yeah, anyway, geez, yes, I knew this was going to be a long one. But thanks for everyone who has joined us in discussing the Black Book. We are Nollywood Film Club. We did discuss either a Nollywood movie every week. We did not decide to pick on the Black Book just because we do this every week. Next week, we might just take a break from Nollywood movies and discuss, have a Nollywood conversation topic to discuss. And I have a good idea what that's going to be, but I'll post it on Tuesday. Do follow some of the speakers. Feel free to join us next week. Hey, join me tomorrow when I do find the mic. Please help me exit punished trolls in my community. All right, but thanks so much for everybody who came, who have listened, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the episode. If you enjoyed listening and would like to join live, just follow us on Twitter at IrokoCritic. And join us every Sunday, 6 p.m. West African time on our spaces.